Hello there, my name is Bruce Rain from Brankus Creations, and my goodness, look at this, I've got a cable just hanging willy-nilly. Okay, let me get that out of the way. I know why that happened. Yesterday, possibly, maybe the day before, I think it was yesterday, I came into my workshop to find that my HD TV, which is up there, it's not really HD, it's rubbish, fell down and knocked my camera off and things. Nothing got damaged, but yeah, it was just not ideal, and so I put it back up again. All right, quick little hello to Jay from the House of Moth, who will never be satisfied no matter how many live streams I do. Hello to Justin, hello to SadMac356, Kai is here, hello Kai. Just saw the link and clicked, well done. Patrick Pitts, Jack68K. So it is a long weekend here at the moment. So basically Friday is a public holiday and Monday is a public holiday. So, 4 days off. And I thought I really should take this opportunity to try and get as much of this stuff done as I can. So I did a live stream, not yesterday, but the day before, I think. Yes. Because the day wasn't looking as too bad. So I came out and did a live stream. I had a day off yesterday, did a little bit of work on my ultrasonic cleaner video. I got a little bit depressed because I need to go and film a bunch of B-roll, which is a bunch of stuff to do with these ultrasonic cleaners. And in order to do that, I need to clean all of this stuff away. And I have no idea where I'm going to put it. None whatsoever. Joys. Hello to Mark. Hello to... Oh, come on. There are too many consonants in a row there. What? Incuve? Is it hello to you. 4-day weekend here too. Excellent. Carthor, hello. Carthor. Is that a Ghostbusters reference? Yeah, I have a 2FX here in front of me, which I'm sure will be of interest to Kai, because Kai is sending me a 2FX of his to repair. Now, this is one that came to me a really long time ago. It belongs to a guy called Charles. Hello, Charles, if you're watching. You're probably not, but if you are, hello. And he sent me two 2FX boards at the same time. One of them was a relatively easy fix, and then the next one was not so much. And I said, look, this has got a lot of trace damage. It's going to need new components, blah, 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 blah. Do you want to go down that path? And he said, yes, I do. And I said, well, look, I'm not going to be able to do it straight away. It's going to sit for a while. And then I was looking at my old jobs the other day, and I thought, oh, my goodness, when I said sit for a while, it really did sit for a while. So my intention today is to try and get to a point where we can start it up. So in my last live stream, it might be a bit misleading, the fact that I said fixing a different 2FX, because this is the same 2FX I was looking at in my last live stream, but it is a different 2FX to the one that in my earlier streams where it was like the Swamp 2FX. So this one is not the Swamp 2FX. So, as I say, we've got a bunch of traces to repair. I've got a few components to replace that have fallen off. We've lost, I think, a crystal. I made a list of everything. A few resistors, a crystal. I'm not sure which crystal it is. There are a few on here, but it's the one of the little, what do they call those ones? The ones that are shaped like a can. I think they're like a tuning fork crystal or something like that. It's Y4 is the crystal that I'm missing. The one at Y4, but I'm just going to swipe that from another board. So only a 2-day weekend here. Oh no, that's terrible. I have it sitting in the box ready to ship tomorrow. Oh, fantastic. And then I found out, as you saw, the flyback is, yes. So I was having a look at the Discord, Tinker Different Discord. So just obviously quick plug for the old Tinker Different. And obviously I saw a little notification come up of Kai saying something, and of course I always want to check and see what Kai has to say, because it's always interesting. And he was talking about the flyback transformer, whether you can get replacements for a Mac Plus, and I sort of said pretty much you can't, but then he then sort of reminded me that there is a place that does sell them for quite a lot of money. They're new old stock. And they're like $100 US or something for a flyback transformer, which is, I guess, if it's your only option, then that's that. I mean, that's just how it is. I was doing a little bit of cruising the trading ads the other day. I was on gumtree.com.au and having a look at eBay as well. and just looking for any, vintage Mac bargains on there, and just prices getting higher and higher. On Gumtree, you used to be able to get the occasional person that maybe didn't know what they had. They would just say, old Macintosh for sale or something like that, and you might grab it. I grabbed a couple of cool Macs that way. I got like a 580, which is, it's a rubbish computer, but it's still fun. It's an all-in-one. It's got a nice screen. It's a 68040 CPU, slide out logic board. It's a perfectly fun computer to have. And as I say, because it's all-in-one, you can just set it up there and you've got your little vintage computer ready to go. And I think you can connect them up to Ethernet. So and I picked up an LC630 that way as well. But these days, you jump onto Gumtree and they say, oh, Mac Plus for sale, recapped. And if anyone has got the words recapped in their ad, you're not going to be getting a bargain. Okay, so Charlie's here. Hello there. How are you going? I haven't spoken to you in a little while. I had a quick little Facebook Messenger chat with you yesterday, didn't I? Yeah, about something. Thomas, hello. Sam, hello. So we will, I guess there's no time like the present to get into this and start seeing if we can fix it up. People came here to watch me solder, not talk. Though I will say this, I watched Thingy and the 10 Rings last night. So that movie, something or other in the 10 Rings. I can't remember the name. And I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good film. It had Jay from the House of Moth. It had his favourite actress in it, Awkwafina. Jay is a huge fan of Awkwafina. And so he really enjoyed the film for that reason. Now, what do we want to do? So, you bought it in the end. Okay, the Mac Plus I have is worth it overall. Mint condition everywhere else. Extended keyboard, mouse with the system. Cool. So, extended keyboard, I think, look, correct me if I'm wrong, but by the time they were coming out with extended keyboards, were they the Platinum Mac Pluses or did they have extended keyboards all along? I'm just trying to remember. Yeah, I've got, I did something which is probably a little bit mean, and I apologise to other people for this, but when I started seeing the price of mice and keyboards for the old Mac Plus 512K, 128K, when I started seeing the prices of those starting to shoot up, I went and bought a whole bunch of them. Now, you might think that's really mean, but at the end of the day, it is my intention to get computers to go with them in the future as well. And a lot of the time when you do buy those computers, they don't come with a keyboard and mouse. So if you can get a decent sized discount on the computer because it doesn't have the keyboard and mouse, and then you've already got a keyboard and mouse ready to go, then you're doing well. Now, of course, it would be remiss of me not to ask everyone to
smash that like button.
Bottled water, yes, Awkwafina. It's not actually her name. So if anyone is curious about why she's called Awkwafina, she used to be a DJ. So and that was her DJ name, and then of course because she ended up getting some notoriety from that name. That's why it is such a silly name. It's because it's a DJ name, and then she moved into movies and just carried that name along. Her name is something really, really dull, like I don't know, Meg. No, that's not fair. But asking for a friend, can you blow up a SCSI bus, blue SCSI, by plugging in the SCSI connector backwards? That would depend on where the power ends up going. I'm not sure exactly what would happen if you did it backwards. I guess it is possible. I'm not sure where the power rails are. Let me just have a look, see if I can find out. Let's see if we can. I'll just grab a board. And I mean, if it's just going to like a ground or something, if you swapped it over and it just went to a ground, you'd probably be fine. But if you swapped it over and it went somewhere importante, like a data path or something, that could be bad. I will need some spectacles for this. Okay, so that's coming from there. All right, so I'm just looking at this. Okay, so that's it there. As far as I can tell, if you swapped it around the other way, It would go nowhere. The power would go nowhere. That's as far as I can tell. Looking at this here, if you put it on backwards, I think the 5-volt termination power goes nowhere, because it looks to me like if you swapped it over, it would actually be on an unused pin. That's what it looks like to me. So I think you might be safe there. Let's not have this on the floor. It's important. There you go. You can go on the ultrasonic cleaner. My temporary bench. Platinum thing. The Plus went that way. The extended keyboard became the standard. Yeah. You know what's so stupid? I had so many Mac Pluses once upon a time. I don't even remember what happened to them. It was such a long time ago. But I got hold of loads and loads of Mac Pluses. And I had one in the house that I lived in at the time. I had one on because this is predating mobile phones, of course. This is when you would have, like, in the house and cordless phones and things like that. I mean, cordless phones were around, but I didn't have one. And we had like a table set up where the phone was. So when you walked in the door, you would come in and there was a little desk there, which is like a phone table. There was a chair. So if you had a phone call and you wanted to have a long conversation, you would sit there at that chair and have your phone conversation in. You know, and so it was kind of like the phone spot. And I actually set up a Mac Plus there with some software that was like a phone directory type thing. And then you could choose who you wanted to call, and you would press a button that would bring the tones out the speaker. So I actually drilled holes in the side of the case so that the speaker had better sound coming out. And then pick up the phone, find the person, press dial, and then just put the phone next to the speaker, and it goes boop, 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 and then you do it like that. So I just had a Mac Plus, so that was the only thing it did, and it was all wired up via local talk with the other ones. Right, so Flux test. Oh yes, and of course that's another really important thing to keep in mind, is that most of the vintage computers have a fuse protecting the SCSI bus, and they pop all the time. I have had many computers where they've the fuse on the SCSI bus has popped and you just have to replace it. Or if you're like this with the Macintosh IIfx, we'll just go top view. You'll see that they have these fuses here which look like little rectangular flat pieces of metal. They're actually a self-healing fuse, so they mend themselves. Now, I just mentioned something about this very, very quickly. What I have in my hand here is a thing called an Azul SCSI. These are now available for purchase as of today. They are made by the same company that make the SCSI 2SD, which is this company here called Rabbit Hole Computing. I will have these for sale on my online store fairly soon. If anyone is wondering if it's better or worse or whatever to a blue SCSI, we're talking about many similarities in the way that they work, in that this works on a disk image type situation, same as this. So in other words, you can take an SD card for use in a blue SCSI and pop it in this, except it's a full-size SCSI port, SD port, not a little one, so you have to put an adapter in. But you can theoretically take the same card from a blue SCSI and just plonk it in here. Some of the nice things that this one has is it has the option to put on an external DB25 if you want. It has a little dip switch for termination. And what else? Yeah, and it's the same size as a SCSI 2SD, so it will fit on a SCSI 2SD mounting bracket. Has the same mounting holes, same position, same location of the connector and all that sort of stuff. So this is a new entry, and it's very important to be aware that this is, for the time being, going to be the alternative to the SCSI 2SD version 5.2, because the 5.2s can't be made for the moment due to the silicon shortage, the IC shortage. The IC that's used for a SCSI 2SD is a little Cypress programmable system on a chip, and they are unprocurable at the moment. So you know, I've got a few SCSI 2SD version 5.2s for sale, but once they are sold out, that will be it for quite some time. So this is going to be the replacement for the 5.2 for the moment, but it is also going to remain as a separate product. It is a little bit cheaper than the SCSI 2SD, and it's quite a fast unit as well. So anyhow, you know, as I've said so many times before, we are in an absolutely wonderful era of you know, sort of invention and whatnot in the vintage computer industry. We have so many choices. This is going to be priced at a higher price point than these. I think you can still get these in kits for like $25 to $30. They did have to up the price because the blue pills are getting more expensive. This one I think is going to come in at around about $59 US, all fully assembled, of course. So running stuff close. Yeah, look, at the end of the day, I will not get involved in the politics of these things or talk about whether I agree or disagree with the way certain things are done. At the end of the day, I sell these products and I want to be able to make them available for people to buy. And for that very, very specific reason, I really just have to remain like Switzerland. I just want people to be able to buy these. I'm the only one in Australia that's reselling these things. And so for that reason, I really just need to, you know, I just need to look at it from the perspective of people being able to buy what they want in this country. So, you know, if I put these up for sale and no one buys them because they've got some sort of issue with them, or with either of them for that matter, there's really nothing I can do about that. But I want to be able to make them available for people to buy, because at the end of the day, it's about servicing the Australian public more than anything else. So, yeah, so anyhow, I am going to just do the little back soon for a moment, and I'll be right back. I just realised I haven't let my chickens out this morning, and they are making a bit of a ruckus. So just give me about probably 60 seconds to just go and let the chickens out, or actually I can leave it going and you can hear me talking to my chickens. So there we go. I won't even do the back soon. I'll just keep talking to you while I'm there letting the chickens out. See, this one's cross. Can you hear how cross this one is? Shush. I will let you out first, because you're making so much noise. Yes, hello. First thing they do, go straight to the other coop to see if the food in there is better than the food in their coop. Geez, you look terrible at the moment. Some of my chickens are molting and they look ridiculous. Excuse me. Excuse me. Okay. So, chickens should now be a little bit more quiet. So, that's good for me and good for the neighbours. Ooh. Okay. So, as I mentioned, I will be selling this. I don't know what price point yet. I have to find it because I'm not sure what I'm getting charged for them yet. So that will have a big, significant bearing on what I charge for them. Right, so that's enough of SCSI stuff. Let's start looking at 2FX stuff. I haven't made myself a whole lot of room here, but that's fairly typical for me, as I'm going to have a bit of a big clean up this weekend, because I have work to do and I need space for it. Can you make a recommendation between the two for a pure novice? Between the two of the SCSI devices? Look, at the end of the day, oh, super chat. Bing, 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 bing. Chicken soldering. That's what we got today. So thank you very much for that, OA. Much appreciated. So there are a whole bunch of people that joined I don't think I've said hello to. I don't think I've said hello to Jeremy. I don't think I've said hello to Vintage Hillbilly Shaq, or Enzo, or OA, or Patrick Pitts. I don't think. I might have, but I don't think so. Who else have we got here? Code Monkey 22. Yeah, that's right. The chickens come first, and then you'll have all you need to fix Macs. So, all right. So really quickly, when it comes to the like the SCSI emulator side of things, I would recommend for a novice that one of the easiest things to do is to go with the ones that works based on a disk image rather than a full emulator, which is what the SCSI 2ST is. So the SCSI 2ST, here's one here. This is one that actually turns an SD card into a hard drive. So when you plug this into your computer thinks that SD card is a blank hard drive, which means you then need to format it on a vintage computer or use like some sort of, like Bellino etcher, sort of to actually make a duplicate of an SD card, which is what I do. But this is like the purest form of an emulator in that it really just behaves like a hard drive. So these ones here, look, they're quick. For a while, they were all we had, and they've been around for a long time, and they're a very polished product. So in terms of compatibilities and all that sort of stuff. And ta-da! Thank you very much, Jeremy. Much appreciated. Lucas, hello to you as well. That's very important. But for people who might be in a situation where they're going, oh, I've got this vintage Mac, and how do I get stuff from my modern Mac onto my vintage Mac? Things start to get a little bit more complicated there, because once you format this in an old file format like Apple HFS, which was discontinued quite some time ago, the last operating system that will write to an HFS partition is, I think, 10.5 Leopard. I think after that it got discontinued and you can only read. You can only read from an HFS. So if you're wanting to copy stuff to it, it means you've got to have an older Mac floating around. The Blue SCSI, on the other hand, and same with the Azul SCSI, they work on a disk image system where you essentially just format that SD card in a FAT32 format, or exFAT. Actually, exFAT is better, sorry. In an exFAT format. And then you can copy disk images to it. And the beauty of disk images is that people have made ones up with systems already on them. So it's like, okay, I want to install System 7.1 on this, and then you find someone who's made a System 7.1 disk image. You download that image, you copy it onto this card, and then you put it in the computer and away you go. If you want to copy files to it, you can then get that image and you can mount it in an application such as Sheep Shaver or Basilisk 2. And you can have that disk image in there, you bring it up on an emulator on your Mac, you can copy stuff across from your modern computer to your emulator. If you've got stuff files, you can expand them, all that sort of stuff. And then you take the card out, you pop it back in, and then you go back to your vintage computer. So it does make that process easier for novices. So in my opinion, a novice is probably going to have a quicker success rate with a Blue SCSI. Now, having said that, I have had a few reports from people that they've had troubles with the Blue SCSI on a Macintosh SE. But having said that, I've never had any success with emulators on an SE. So, well, I've had limited success with emulators on an SE. Might be my SE, it might be, who knows what the problem is. But anyhow. Still sell. Good night. Good night to you too. I should actually mention, at the moment, it is an absolutely magnificent day here in Sydney today. The sun is shining, it is beautiful. So, right, 10.5, yeah, okay. I keep a dual boot G4 with OS 9 and 10.4. Half the fun is swapping floppies. Yes, well, yeah, I can't disagree with you. It's a regular SE, it's the 800K. So I imagine it's probably some ROM-based thing. Yes, I keep a G5, the original dual 2 gigahertz G5 tower, which I bought in 2003. Does that sound right? Does 2003 sound right? I think so. That would be right, yeah. And I've souped it up. It's got an SSD in it. It's got 8 gigabytes of RAM. And I have that permanently set up with screen sharing type thing. So on my normal computer, I can just flick across to the G5, and that enables me to boot into classic mode OS 9 under 10.4. It enables me to read and write to HFS, SD cards. So yeah, it's just keep it there all the time. Okay, all right. So anyhow, we haven't done anything. We haven't done anything. Now it's time for us to do something. So what I did yesterday, I did or the day before yesterday, I did a lot of trace repair work here, so this chip could go down, could get put back on. Both of these chips were damaged to the point that they had no legs on them and they fell off. So we're having to replace these. These are readily available chips. I am going to be borrowing them from another 2FX board, but you can actually buy new ones. So let's go in and see what the second one looks like, and we'll actually get this rode on the show. Okay. Scope view. All right, so this is what we were doing yesterday, or the day before yesterday. What is it? Today's Saturday, so that was Thursday. That's how Australian footy coaches talk. I'm going to see you here for training on Tuesday night. Right, and then we've got this one here. We've got a trace repair that we need to do there. I'm pointing with a spudger. Don't ask me why. So we got a little trace repair here. We've got to check the continuity on these because they look pretty damn ugly. I've got another trace repair there. Oh, we've got some ugliness here. Yep, let's see what that looks like after a little bit of a scrapey scrape. Where's my scalpel? There it is. MDD stands for mirror drive door. So there are lots of different types of G4. There was the original G4, which I can't remember what the code name for that was. And then there was the sawtooth. And then we had the Quicksilver. That was the one with the wind tunnel effect going on. And then there was the mirror drive door. So they're the all the G4 towers. The mirror drive door is the most recent of the G4s. And so specifically that would run 10.5 without issues out of the box. Is there a specific model that would run 10.5 without issues out of the box? So you can run 10.5 on a G5. Most of the computers of that era you're going to have some problems with because, I mean, my G5 is running beautifully. I've got no issue with it whatsoever. G4 mirror drive doors do have problems with the power supply, so that can be a bit of an issue. Yeah. If you want to be able to boot natively into OS 9, which that might be what you guys are discussing, I missed bits, but if you want to boot natively into OS 9 without any assistance, you will need to go with the first version of the mirror drive door, which is the non-Firewire version, so non-Firewire 800 version. So if you get hold of a G4 mirror drive door and you look on the back and it has a Firewire 800 plug, which is the square one rather than the one that's kind of like a rectangle with a little edge bit coming up. They can run OS 9 natively, but only with a little bit of assistance. You need to go to the OS 9 Lives website and you will find all sorts of magic stuff has been done in order to make it so that we can run OS 9 on machines that weren't natively meant to do that. You can even do it on a Mini, a little G4 Mini. That's actually G4 Mini's probably not a bad one to get hold of because they're probably still around and they're probably not super expensive. And if you get hold of a G4 Mini, you can run OS 9 Lives on it and you'll get the ability to boot straight into OS 9 or OS 10. Yep. So PCI G4, Sawtooth, AGP, digital audio, Quicksilver. I skipped a few, didn't I, Kai? One of the things that I absolutely love is the mirror drive door, which was a dual. What was the most powerful one? It was a dual 2 gigahertz, I think. That was a pretty, that's the G4 to have. I mean, that's a pretty good one. I think I might have one, I might not. I've got a dual something or other, but I can't remember what the CPU speed is. I keep it, at the moment, because I have a few storage issues, I kind of keep that computer in the car, one of my cars, in the boot. It's not there permanently. So what I'm doing here at the moment is I'm just scraping. I mentioned this in quite a lot of my live streams. There is a weak point between where a trace becomes a pad. There's a kind of like a little dip that happens, and it invites corrosion. And what I'm doing at the moment is I'm scraping over that dip until I've got just copper. And then I am going to build that up with some solder or solder, depending on how you like to say it. As long as we all know we're talking about the same thing, that's all that matters. And yeah, and then we just make sure they're all nice and strong. Now, the next step, I need some flux. Which one am I going to go with? Yeah, so I did something kind of funny the other day. When I was soldering, and I had so many fluxes, I didn't even know which one I was using. So these are the kind of the main four that I have at the moment, and I'm going to give you my opinion on these, just very, very quickly. So I have, these are all Amtechs. I've got original formula Amtech NC559 V2TF. I'm not going to be using that, don't particularly like the smell. Oh, there's another one here that's not an Amtech, which I really quite like too, actually. This Chip Quick SMD 4300 TF10. That's a really nice flux, that one. I've got here the V2 new formula. Now, that's good flux, there's no doubt about that, but it's got quite a strong smell. It's a nice smell, it's a pleasant smell, it's not a chemically smell, but it's still quite strong. But other than that, oh, and this is quite an opaque flux as well, and I don't particularly like my flux opaque. So that leaves us with these. We've got the 599 ASM TF, which I've been using for years, even though it's had a V2 label on it, and Sample 88, which is going to be known as V3 in the future. This is Amtech's latest one. Now, I have been using the two of them, but I keep kind of mixing up. And so what I want to do is I want to do a part of this live stream using one and another part using the other exclusively, and then just kind of get a feel for which one I like the most. So we're going to start off with the ASM. All right, so ASM first, and we'll just see what happens. Back to microscope view, and let's jump back here. I just bagged a G4 1.42. Yeah, it was 1.42. It wasn't 2 gigahertz. 1.42. Dual 1.42 was the fastest one they made at the time. Correct me if I'm wrong, Kai. All the specs set to yes for 50 pound. That's pretty good. Sitting in my friend's transit van as he collected it, hasn't come to visit. Ruggers Customs, hello. Retro Techie, I don't think I said a hello to you either. So, Flux shop opening soon. Okay. All right, so let's start off using the ASM Flux, and we'll do the work, we'll do the stuff, we'll do what we have to do, and then we will make a decision. Well, then at some stage I will then flip over to the other one, and then I won't even necessarily come to a conclusion, because as I've said before, flux is a personal thing. You know, some people like other fluxes for different reasons than I do, but I'll just tell you what I think about them, and then you can kind of make your own decisions. I am going to do a proper video on this, but yeah. So I'm going to just get some solder on here. Helps if you have the right soldering thing plugged in. I had my micro pencil plugged in, so this one's not even remotely hot. So let me just unplug this one. I do wish these plugs were easier to undo. Amtech is quite, sorry, not Amtech, what's this company called? Hacko is quite expensive out here, but there are aspects of their product which are very, very budget, the way they're made. Oh, the UV mask there. Okay, so let's plug in the right one now. $50 AUD for 30cc, yeah. I've mentioned this before. I'm part of the Amazon affiliate program with the links that I have in here, and when people buy stuff, I get a little sweetener. Doesn't change the price of the product for whoever buys it. It just means that I get a little bit of a kickback with the stuff that I have listed in my description. No fume extractor on, and and because of that, if I buy it on Amazon, it comes out of the Amazon gift card, so it sort of feels to me like I'm almost getting it for free. It's about from the American Amazon, I think it's about 17 or 18 US dollars for a 10cc. I buy the 10cc's. I don't like using the 30cc's. I used to for years. I used the 30cc's, and then I found them a bit tedious. So when I buy them, I buy 3 10s instead of 130. It may not be the most efficient way to buy it, but I prefer it. Okay, I've got a little bit of wick that's not in a container here at the moment. We'll use this one. So anything that is exposed here, I want it to have solder on it. Better expose a little bit more of this as well. I think we should do this trace repair before we stick the component on. Just go through. With my makeshift hammer, or do I have my real hammer here? Hammer. Oh, I'll use my makeshift hammer, which is actually a Phillips head screwdriver. Let's see. The biggest issue I had with the 30cc was the fact that it would often just keep dispensing even when you didn't want it to. So you'd go and you'd squeeze a little bit of flux out and you get a nice little gentle bit of flux out, and then I would put the thing down and I would just be watching more flux just oozing out the back of it. And I don't have that as much with the 10cc. I was just wasting so much flux. I was scooping up bits of flux off the desk and then sticking it on the board. It was just stupid. So stupid. Oh yes, I should actually mention happy Easter, Passover, Ramadan, whatever you happen to be celebrating. Happy to everyone that thing. To all. Righty. Well, that's what I wanted to see if I can get a wire through this hole. Metal syringe driver handle instead of the silly plastic one. They give you, I'd put it down, then it would just keep going and going. I use these. I made these myself. They're a 3D printed plunger. I'll show them. I'll put it on the top view. This is them here. Ooh. Focus. So this is a little plunger, 3D plunger thing that I made, and this thing here is essentially just a block of plastic with some little ridges down the side, so it allows airflow. So the ridges keep it inside the tube so it doesn't fall out, but it's quite smooth and it doesn't create an airlock in there. And so I've found these to be quite good. So, and the beauty of those is I can just print as many as I want. So I can get dead one there, and then go dead one there. So that's what I do. At the moment, I'm trying to design some sort of shroud for the fan and this ultrasonic cleaner behind me, so I can try and get the air from the fans directed more where it's needed, because I am just having so many issues with these power supplies, or drivers as they call them, for these ultrasonic transducers. The little drivers just keep breaking, and it is driving me bonkers. Okay, microscope view. Scope view. Oh, I should probably put gloves on. They're already starting to get sticky. I hate sticky fingers. Hate it. Hate it. Hate it. Northridge's Amtech comes rebranded in a similar tube, but he includes a nice plunger and several dispensing tips. Yeah, all the Amtech ones come with a plunger and dispensing and a dispensing tip. But I reuse the dispensing tips, so I end up with a huge amount of them because you get a new one with every tube. And as I say, I use my own plungers. Now, so basically what Northridge does is he buys, I think, bulk quantity of the flux. He's buying it, I'm pretty sure he's buying it from Inventec, not from Amtech. So, and he then, I'm pretty sure, don't quote me on this because this is just based on my observation, but I could be wrong. He buys a large quantity and then he puts them in syringes himself. He puts them in little syringes himself. Probably that's the way he makes a bit of money from it. There were a few comments made on his forum recently about the whole Flux thing, and he has just been deleting them. So he is clearly not interested in anything that I have had to say about this matter. And that's fine. It's, but he, at least the other day, he acknowledged the fact that he is censoring his forum. He did actually say, I am deleting all of these posts because at the end of the day, I am selling Amtech Flux and that's all there is to it. No, he didn't say he's selling Amtech Flux. He said, I'm selling Amtech Formula Flux, something like that, which is kind of an acknowledgement that he's not buying it from Amtech, he's buying it from Inventec. One of the things that keeps, I think, getting missed with this whole Flux thing is that at no stage has anyone said that Inventec are selling a fake flux or a bad flux or a poor quality flux or anything like that. They are selling the genuine Amtech formula of flux. They are doing that. What they have done, it's my understanding, again, this is alleged, to say that in case there's any sort of future legal action or anything taken on this. It is alleged that they have been selling one formula of flux with a different label on it. So people thought they were getting Formula A, but they were actually getting Formula B with a Formula A label on it. So, and that is something that it seems that the Inventec people and resellers, are just not acknowledging at all. They're just basically behaving like that never happened. What's the difference between the NC559 or RMA223 in terms of end usage? Now, I'm pretty sure tried an RMA223, but I have got to get it again to try it again to go in and test it. My understanding is that the main differences in flux is, of course, like the way they are intended to be used. Whether they're intended to be used in the way that I am working with them here, like with a soldering iron, whether they are intended for use at a much larger industrial scale, in manufacturing, whether they are going to be used with leaded or lead-free solder, whether they're going to be used for, like surface mount, things like, ball grid array, all that sort of stuff. And essentially, if you go on to the Amtech website and you have a look at these different ones, they will list all of their qualities and whatnot, so that you can then kind of get an idea of what one is used for what. But I have, okay, so there we go. RMA223 is rework flux. There you go. So now, having said that, of course, I use this flux for rework all the time. But then again, I do quite a lot of things that aren't the norm. They're not the way they're supposed to be done. Oops. Okay, hold still. There we go. Oh, that was almost perfect. And then I ruined it. It's ruined. There we go. That's as far as we need to go. Just make sure it's got enough anchorage. Anchorage, Alaska. Speaking of cold places, this time tomorrow, I am going to be sitting in this chair, but I am going to be live streaming on someone else's channel. So if you would like to tune in to Dan from the Canadian Computer Collector, I'll give you the time in American Eastern Time, because that's one of the ones that I know. It's 8 p.m. US Eastern Time, so you can probably figure it out from that. In Australia, it's 10 a.m. time. So I've got to be up at 10 a.m. tomorrow, or well before then actually. And I will be sitting in this chair, and I will be having a little guest spot with Steve from Macintosh IIfx on the Canadian Computer Collector's channel. And we are going to see if we can teach Dan how to solder. So that should be fun. Okay. Now, this here looks like it's lost quite a lot of the, what do you call it, the copper around the edge near the tube of the via. So I think it would be a prudent thing to stick a wire down that one and the next one up as well. How's this one look? That's not too bad. All right. 559 seems to take a hell of a load of scrubbing with IPA. Yeah. I mean, all Flux is like that, really. It's the problem you have with Flux is that if you make it too easy to clean away, it just burns away when you're trying to solder. You know, you'll just end up losing it. You want the Flux to hang around to do its job while you're doing your rework. But at the same time, the flip side to that is it then becomes difficult to clean off. Now, apparently, the V2, which is the real V2, not the ASM that's labelled as V2. So apparently V2 is a lot easier to clean away than ASM. So if you buy from Amtech and you get, not that one, this one, the new Formula V2, that one is apparently easier to clean off than the ASM. So, worth considering. Yeah. I have the ASM UV. V2 it is. Yeah, give it a try. Give it a try. See what you think. I mean, you know, there's only one way of finding out if it's a flux that you like and it works for you, and that is to give it a try. Once again, this is a... Oh my God, what did I just see then? Oh yeah, that's right. I knew about that one. That's the resistor that's gone. It's gone, mate. It's gone. Okay, now I'm going to solder this a little bit. I'll keep a bit of wire there because I'm going to attach that to the pin once the component is soldered down. There we go. Wick that away now. Now, where's Mr. Moth? Jay, are you around? Since January, stuff has been increasingly hard to find. Brexit nonsense. Yeah, I heard something. I was seeing on the news or something recently that there's stuff that's the prices are skyrocketing there in the UK of certain items. I can't remember off the top of my head. I might remember, but there were certain items where they were just saying it's just getting really, really expensive at the moment. %60 cost of living increase. Whoa! I was just checking that you were there, Jay. Given the pressure that we from the Maciac group get about live streaming, I just wanted to be sure that this live stream was being viewed and that you were paying attention. If you're working in the background and that's why you can't chat, I'm fine with that. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't, getting pressured into live stream and then having you disappear. That would have been very, very rude. Okay. And I think I may have inadvertently, it was certainly not planned this way, streamed at the same time as someone else. But I won't say who that someone else is, because then people might all rush away and go and watch that person. Can't be having that. Viewed and listened to while I work. I'm about to step away for a minute, but shan't be long. Okay, no problem. And when you do get back, we would be very interested to know what work it is that you're doing, because Jay does do very interesting stuff, but he just doesn't live stream it. And we give him grief about this all the time. We're like, why aren't you live streaming that? That's interesting. Okay, let's just get that. Oh, no one them to go anywhere. Michael's Workshop, hello there. You're watching them too. I'm constantly impressed by how your via patches look so easy. Your wire always looks rigid yet tiny. Every time I try magnet wire, it's like trying to wrestle a cat. I hear you. It is fiddly. I will say that the microscope often ends up making me look flashier than I am. The microscope does make a massive difference to the ability to work with this stuff, because it is a stereoscopic microscope. So you get depth perception through the microscope, and that gives you the ability to really get an incredible amount of control. And we're so close, you can even see the solder go liquid and then change back into solid when it cools. It's very handy. I do need to go to the US to visit, but I can't see myself ever being able to live there. I think I'm far too used to the Australian way of life to be able to just up and leave. I know that everyone thinks that it's all just deadly critters out here, but I will say that I have gone through my life and very, very rarely come up against deadly critter. And most of the really bad ones, we kind of know what to do, how to avoid them as well. Except for sharks. Well, it's easy to avoid sharks. You stay out of the water. Simple as that. Okay. Is this the IIfx? I think this is the IIfx. Yes, this is the IIfx. Very similar shape to a Mac 2 or a 2X board, but it does have components in lots of different positions to those, so it's very easy to distinguish. Time to grab this component. Slightly out of focus. That's more than slightly. There we go. A bit more focus. Focus. Almost focus. Focus. Oh, look at those ugly traces, man. Maybe this is the reason why this one didn't work. It's too late now. Too late now. We're rating this one. This board is mine. It is my intention to get this board working one day, but I came to the decision the other day that I should not be expending too much time. If I could have just got mine fixed quickly and easily, I would have just stayed with it. But I came to the decision that I could not be spending significant amount of time working on my own 2FX when I have a customer's 2FX board that has been sitting here for such a long time. So, you know. Oh no, where's that chip? Where is that chip? Uh-oh. Uh-oh! God, I hope he's just on the floor somewhere. I'm missing a chip. Uh-oh! That's the UC17. Uh-oh, uh-oh, uh-oh. I can see myself. I can see my future. My future involves me crawling around on the floor. Oh, I better clean this one up. He's a little bit dirty. I don't even know what that chip is. I'll be able to look it up. It's UC17. It says 8530 8 megahertz. 8530. 8530. 8530. Nope, that's not it. I sometimes put components over here when I'm in a transitional phase. This looks like a SCSI chip. So that would suggest that it's probably on the floor. Yeah, this is the one we were dealing with before. So it's here. It hasn't been thrown away. It's just I vaguely remember when I lifted this board up the other day, I heard something plonk onto the ground. Ah. 8530. Jeez, it's been a bit knocked around. I've rolled over it in the chair by the looks of it. Thankfully, not dead. Okay, so just a note to self to not leave chips lying on top of computers. All right, so I'm going to give this a little bit of the treatment, try and clean it up a little bit, and destroy the desk at the same time. You can see from all the little burn marks on this that I've done this before. They're still sold new by Zilog. Wow, is it Zilog or Zilog? I'm going to say Zilog. That's good to know. I should probably buy a few, shouldn't I? There's just always stuff to buy. Come on, let's get a little bit more extraction. When you're doing this sort of stuff, if you're getting into doing repairs or whatever, very important to have a fume extractor or some sort of fan to blow these fumes away from you. People often talk about it being a lead issue. It's not the lead that's a problem. It really is the flux fumes that are a problem. So just be safe, people. Be safe. I have a little electronics shop down the road, which I talk about all the time, that I buy stuff from, get supplies and things. And I do think I confuse them sometimes. I went down there once and I grabbed the chip puller, and they're like what on earth do you need a chip puller for? You know, because obviously computers these days don't have the sorts of chips that you need, like a dip chip puller. Now, yesterday during Maciac, we had quite a lengthy conversation about what's been happening with the vintage computer sort of hobby, and you know, the way it's a real kind of massive price increase on a lot of old computers. We're talking about stuff that, you know, you would have got for free or for like $10 once upon a time, and now you're paying hundreds of dollars for them on eBay. You know, people who are selling mirror drive doors for like $600, or as I put an SE30 up on eBay a while ago, and I got $700 for it here in Australia. And we were just talking about, you know, why is that happening? How did we end up in this situation? And we talked about lots of different contributing factors, and that. So anyone who's interested, check out yesterday's Maciac show. Some good topics on the show yesterday. And we had Dan from the Canadian Computer Collector as our guest. And he is always good fun. Whoopsie. We generally have guests on when we think we're going to be too boring without one. We go, oh, these are pretty lousy topics. Now, as it turns out, last night the topics were pretty good, but we still got a guest on just in case. And there was a possibility that Steve wasn't going to be there, and we didn't have Mike, and we didn't have Grudy. Grudy's we don't really rely on Grudy being at the show these days. Yesterday he wasn't on the show. He sent us his apologies afterwards. His excuse was that he fell asleep. He got home and he fell asleep. So that's just giving everyone a bit of an idea. No. I move the microscope with my nose. When I have this little knob tightened up too much, it hurts my nose when I move the microscope. And you think, well, undo the knob. I would, but it's actually holding the microscope up at the moment. Okay, so this is one of the little trace wires that I had, and as I mentioned before, I want to actually run it straight all the way to the pin. So this isn't going to be pretty. But do we care about pretty if the computer works? Really? I mentioned investors on Maciac last night. Investors are one of the reasons why vintage systems... Oh yes, that's right. Yes, so, you know, we talk about the idea that some people are getting into the vintage Mac hobby because of nostalgia, or because of a passion of, you know, for old computers, whatnot, and they're collecting this stuff because they love it. But then there are, of course, some people who are doing it because they're seeing the prices go up, and they are buying in order to try and resell at a profit. And of course they kind of mess it up for everyone, because they list things for ridiculously high prices. Even if they don't sell for those high prices, they create this perception that that's what these things are worth. And that's kind of bad for everyone. Oh yes, of course, we are talking about one of those people is our well-known Mr. Polka Dots. Someone who we don't have a whole lot of contact with now because he's been banned from so many forums. I'm sure he's still finding a way to peddle his wares. But he is someone who we have observed to be particularly unscrupulous when it comes to his buying and selling of vintage stuff. There are some terrible horror stories. There are some people that have bought from him that said, yeah, it all went fine. And then there are some people that have bought from him that said that they were just openly scammed. Okay, here's another pretty little trace repair. Now, one of the big issues I'm going to have with this computer, potentially, I don't know, we'll see, but I believe one of the issues I'm going to have with this computer is that on this chip in particular, we've got lots and lots of these vias that have been damaged. And I'm running a wire through to the other side of the board, but the fear is that that via is completely gone inside, and so that wire is no longer going to where it is meant to be going. Thankfully, I have a schematic for this computer, so I can, if we're having problems, go in and trace that out and find out where it's going. But what we need to do now is we need to flip this board over and bring together, sorry, I'm just looking at some of these, bring together some of these wires on the other side of the board. So Michael's workshop, it isn't just that. It isn't just charging what he wants. There are a couple of things he does. One of the things that he does is he lists things for obscene amounts of money. So he might have something that is worth, I don't know. Worth is a relative thing, I know, but it's very objective. But he clearly puts things on for maybe double or even triple or even quadruple what something like that is worth. And then people make an offer. And by listing that very high price, it makes people put in higher offers. Now, there's nothing against the law about that at all. But if you really want to know what the market value of a computer is, you put it up for auction. You start it at $1 or whatever, and you put it up for auction, and you see how many bids you have, and then that will tell you what the market rate is. He never, ever sells things for an auction. He always puts them in there with a very high asking price and then a make offer. And the idea being that that high asking price is going to push people's offer higher than it would have potentially been. Now, that is a method for making more money. Is that illegal? No, it's not at all. But, you know, it's kind of a, I don't know, it's, in particular when we look at the fact that in this vintage community, we have there is a very strong community feel, and a lot of these people are helping each other out, teaching each other things, you know, sort of a lot of the time, you know, if you get into a group, you know, sort of one of these enthusiast groups, you can often end up getting stuff for cheap or for free from people because they're just wanting to share their stuff around, you know, what comes around goes around, that sort of thing. So then there is another thing as well, and it goes beyond just him asking high prices for things. He has actually, there are stories of some real deceptions out there of him selling things that didn't turn out to be what they were, and then when people tried to get their money back, going through all sorts of issues with trying to get the money returned and all that sort of stuff. So it is more than just him charging high prices for things. So one of the really frustrating things for us as collectors is when you have someone who might get hold of a computer, and this is something I experienced quite recently. I had someone with a Mac 128K, original 128K, not upgraded, in a box, and he was asking me what I thought it was worth, and I gave him some rough estimates, and he was basically saying that he wanted $2,000 for it. And I said, look, mate, you're dreaming. That's a 128K is not worth $2,000. And he's like, oh, I've seen them for sale for that. And it's like, but what does that actually tell you? You didn't see them sold for that. you saw them for sale for that. The people that actually put these things up for sale for ridiculously obscene prices that never sell, they just sit there for sale with that high price tag not selling, are actually creating this very skewed view of what the value of these things are, with people walking around like that. Someone who's a complete novice has absolutely no idea what the thing is worth. He then goes to eBay, he walks away thinking he's got $2,000 worth of computer there, when in actual fact it's about half that. And some people would argue it's even less, but this is Australia and people are paying silly money for things. So yeah, that is something that's very frustrating, because it actually it messes up the market. And as we say to people all the time, don't look at the for sale prices, look at the sold prices, look at recent sales and take an average from them. And also do look at the descriptions when you've got someone selling something where it's working or not working, or selling with a box or not with a box. I think boxes are absolutely freaking worthless, but there are a lot of people out there that pay good money for boxes. First thing I do when I get a box is throw it away, because who has room to store boxes? Not me. The only time I would keep a box is if it is a computer that I am likely to want to ship at some stage. And if I'm going to want to ship it, it's good to ship them in the original boxes, because that's what they were designed for. So anyhow, that's my little rant going. I better go back and read some of the chat. People think hard to find items should be cheap. No, I don't think anyone thinks hard to find items should be cheap. Hard to find items should go for the price of a hard to find item. A lot of the time he's selling stuff that's not hard to find, but he's selling them at a price of it being a hard to find item. But as I say, I mean, one of the best ways to find out what something is worth is put it up on an auction, see what people are prepared to pay for it. As easy as that. And yeah, at the end of the day, he can ask whatever he wants. It's more the more kind of sneaky things he's done that kind of bother me. Right, so we have got. Let's get rid of this little surface mount electrolytic cap, shall we? He can come to no good. I just dropped that chip again. That chip wants to live on the floor. There's no doubt about that. We better get it on the board. Stat. One lunchbox computer sit on eBay for the last 3 years, priced at $400. I've contacted the seller with proof of sale of PC exactly like his for $125, shipped to me. He rejected our reality and substituted his own. Yep, it happens. I keep the Mac, cats keep the boxes. So I need to mention this because this seemed to cause people a little bit of grief yesterday, because they kept on saying, oh, he's reading really old messages. When I go to check messages, I start from the most recent and I work my way up. So by the time I get to the top of the list, I'm often talking about messages that have been sitting there for quite some time. So he has two e-cards listed, and I'm tempted to buy one from him because I know he has them and will ship. Yeah, just keep in mind with him, he never recaps anything. And the 2E card does have surface mount electrolytic caps on it. So when you buy it, you do need to factor in that it will need to be recapped. Because, yeah, as I say, he does not recap things. He doesn't even really acknowledge recapping. I had one person who got a Mac Classic from him, Color Classic, sorry, and paid ridiculous amounts of money for it, over $1,000. Now, it did have a 2E card installed in it as well, but he paid over $1,000 for this Color Classic. When he got the thing, it didn't work properly. Sound was all shot to pieces, and as it turned out, there were two reasons for that. First of all, it hadn't been recapped, which of course I then had to do, so he then had to pay for my recapping as well. And then there was also a component missing off the board, so it had obviously been mishandled at some stage, and I had to replace a component on the other side of the board as well. And so that was something that was sold by him at, top, I consider recapped pricing, but nothing had been done to it. And when he actually contacted Mr. Polka Dots to tell him that he was having problems with it, his response is, you'll need to get it recapped. So, yeah. Now, you could kind of argue, well, it's the buyer needs to research that sort of stuff, and that's true. But I guess that's taking advantage of people that are maybe new to the hobby. Someone who sort of says, "Oh, wow, you know, I remember having one of these. I want to buy one of these." And those people are then being taken advantage of because of their lack of knowledge on the subject. As to, you know, I mean, you have anyone that's actually, you know, sort of into the vintage computer stuff, they know which computers are going to need work done and which ones aren't. Someone like that has no idea. And to be sold something for absolute top of the line prices, and then be told very soon after you get it that, oh yeah, you're going to have to get it recapped. I think that's pretty, well, put it this way, I would never ever do that, ever. I'm no friggin' saint, I'll tell you that for sure, but I would never do something like that. For me, I would never want to deceive someone in a sale. I will be open and upfront about everything, so that when they get it, you're not going to have any situation with someone turning around and saying, "Oh, you didn't say this, or you didn't say that." You know, if I'm selling a car and there's a ding, I'm going to take a nice big photo of that ding and put it in the ad. All right, so we're still using ASM Flux at this stage, and at this stage, it is, what I will say is, using it for me is like, I'm not even noticing that I'm using it, and that's because it's what I'm used to. I'm used to the smell, I'm used to the way it feels, I'm used to the way it sort of, the way it reacts when a soldering iron hits it, like smoke up in my face like that. So for me, using the ASM solder is just like, it just feels like home sort of thing, you know. In a moment, I am going to change over and we're going to start using sample 88 instead. And I'm going to see what it feels like, whether I feel like it's behaving differently. And if it is behaving differently, see if I can kind of verbalize what's going on. Oh, Sean is here. Hello, Sean. What interesting things have you been up to lately? I have to say, when it comes to the vintage Macs, when it comes to, you know, doing fun things with them and that, Sean has got to be the front runner there. I mean, he's always just doing such interesting things with his vintage Macs. Not to take anything away from my good friend Steve at Mac 84. Absolutely love watching his videos as well. But Sean definitely pushes the envelope when it comes to a lot of these old computers. Now, I'm going to do something here that I don't normally do. Actually, no, I don't need to do it. I was going to do something. I was going to take a photo of what this looked like without the component on it, so I can have a photographic record of where all the traces go underneath the chip. But I just realised I don't need to do that because I've got a IIfx board there that doesn't have this chip on it. Updated the firmware on my blue SCSI and formatted with FWB. Got faster benchmarks than SCSI to SD. That is excellent. So, what version of FWB can I ask, if you don't mind me asking? What I would be interested to know. And do you feel that it is the firmware update that's made the speed improvement, or do you think it is the using a different formatting tool? Because you did a test before and you were having quite slow speeds, and we were all like, why is that happening? Because, you know, we all wanted to know why you were getting slower speeds than other people were getting. And I have to ask, did you update that firmware using the new method? Have you got the new one that allows you to update it using the little homebrew tool and stuff like that? Or did you have to go and get yourself an ST link to do the update? If everything that I said then just all sounds like gibberish to you, or to anyone in the chat, I do apologise. I've gone a little bit esoteric. Use an ST-Link, yep, fair enough. So, you know, once you go to the very latest version of the firmware, you will no longer need to use the ST-Link, which is kind of cool. Kind of cool. What Sean does is the equivalent to an LS swap into a Geo Metro with almost every computer he's got a hold of. I forget which FWV version, yeah. I use 1.8. I use 1.8 for the older Macs. So if I'm, you know, sort of like System 7.1 type stuff, 2 gigabyte partitions. If we then move into the need to recognize IDE drives, so, you know, separate buses and that, I think I use 3.2. That sounds, I think that's what I use, but I'm not really sure. But definitely 1.8 for all the older Macs. If you buy a Blue SCSI or SCSI to SD from me, and you buy it with a sort of pre-installed system on an SD card, you will be getting that formatted with FWB, or it's Hard Disk Toolkit. That's what FWB is, the company that made Hard Disk Toolkit. Okay, I've got a couple of tacks on that chip there, and hopefully it'll line up on the other side. If it doesn't, I've only got 2 I need to desolder. Oh wow, these damn boards are huge. Huge! Huge, I says. Huge. I was going to take that chip off, wasn't I? I was going to liberate that chip from the board. It's a little bit off, this one, but not enough for me to bother re-soldering anything. This one's on the side here, just out by a little bit. Just out by a little bit. Alright, so let's get some full-on soldering going on here. This is where I like to use a beveled edge soldering iron tip, because I can get it right into the little nooks on the side of a PLCC chip like this. You will find lots and lots of PLCC chips on these old Mac boards. The cool thing about that sort of chip package is that they can be soldered directly to the board as a surface mount, or they can go into a socket. So you can socket them if they're ones that, you know, might need to be removed or whatever, or you can solder them straight onto the board. Speaking of which, I've actually got an SE, but I think one of the socketed PLCC chips is bad, and I need to replace it and see if it fixes the problem I'm having with it. That's another one of these boards that's been sitting here for a while that I need to fix up. This flux that I'm using, so what I'm doing right now, I haven't added any new flux. This is all the flux that I had there before when I was cleaning up these pads, and you can see it's still doing its job. It may not be doing it as efficiently as if I was to lay down a whole new layer of flux, but it is doing the job. So that's pretty impressive that a flux like this has got that sort of hang time. That's a fancy flux term, that, hang time. I'm going to put a little bit more on here, just up the top. I just see myself setting myself up for a bridge up the top here if I don't put a bit of flux there. So, and as I mentioned before, you know, like sort of responding to what Kai was saying, the flip side to having a solder do this is the fact that it then is quite a bit hard to get off the board afterwards. Lots and lots of scrubbing. Flux is a bit of a bugger to clean off. But I use an ultrasonic cleaner, so for me it doesn't bother me that much. And that's again where the whole flux thing starts to become a personal matter. See, if I was to go to Amtech and describe to them what I do, they would tell me that V2 is what I should be using. Because on paper, that is what I should be doing based on the work that I'm doing. But I do prefer to use the ASM. I haven't looked at the chat in a while. Sorry. Right, we're going to have to look at this from the side. See, instead of just a bit sockets. Okay, oh, I better go back. Bruce, how did you get into this? Have you always done electronic repairs in some form? Not really. I've always used a soldering iron. I've always done fairly basic sort of electronic stuff, and I've always been interested in trying to repair my own stuff as much as possible, and do my own work around the house and all that sort of stuff. So, but I wouldn't really consider myself as someone who's been doing sort of electronics repairs for very long. I got into it probably only about 5 or 6 years ago, something like that. And it started primarily with, it basically started with a MacBook Pro, a 17-inch MacBook Pro that I got, 2009 model, I think, Intel Core 2 Duo, dual 3 gigahertz version of the MacBook Pro. Lovely big 17-inch screen. Love them. They're a beautiful computer. And they warm your lap when you're using them as well. And I got hold of one for really cheap that didn't work. And I just bought it because it's like, yeah, why not? Who knows, I might be able to buy another one later on and get parts or something. So I bought this thing on eBay for super cheap. And then I did a bit of a Google search to see if it's something that could be repaired. And up came a Lewis Rossman video. And in it, he went in and described how you can repair the problem. It was the exact symptom that I had by replacing a capacitor. The capacitor has blown, remove it, replace it with a new one, and away you go. So anyhow, sure enough, I got hold of this replacement capacitor and swapped over the component, and bang, away she went. I got myself this working computer for the cost of a capacitor, and I don't know, whatever it was at the time, it was maybe $100. It wasn't that expensive at the time. This is some years ago, and it was probably less than $100, come to think of it. But anyhow. And then I got a bug for it. And the next thing you know, I was buying more broken MacBook Pros, trying to fix them, MacBook Airs, all sorts of things, and then reselling them. I counted it up recently. It was something like 17 or something of them over a sort of span of like a year or something. And I had a soldering iron already, and then I got a hot air station, and then I got a better soldering iron, and then I got a better hot air station, and then I got the microscope. I got a microscope, and then I got the better microscope, and and it just went adding more of these things because I just got a real bug for it. And then because I was also into vintage Macs, I then started having people saying, does anyone know someone in Australia who can recap? And I was like, well, how hard can recapping be when I'm working with components that are a fraction of the size? And did it that way. So that was pretty much how it happened. And then I started doing videos for some unknown reason. Right, sorry, I probably missed a little bit of chat here because I was just too busy reading that. I was telling stories. I'm used to nodding and acting like I understand some of what you're all talking about. That's how I feel when I talk to Kai. I used the version that came on a Power Computing 8 install CD. That is almost definitely going to be the personal edition 3.2, I think. So it's the limited edition. It's one where it's not fully featured, but it has most of the features. And I'm pretty sure that's the one, yeah, because I've actually got one of those Power Computing 8 CDs. So I'm pretty sure it's the same version that I use for that. The advantage of that one is that one will recognise an IDE bus as well as a SCSI bus. Or if you've got a computer with 2 SCSI buses, it'll recognise both SCSI buses. And of course, it's good. It's great software. Okay. Just checking. Yeah. Greedy's channel for years. You're stuck with PLC instead of switching parts up and used. You see, when Q out, there wasn't really much space saving using those videos there. Okay, sorry, just catching up. Won't be long. Opinion question for everyone. Were to make a video about any famous or infamous computer that has already been featured in quite a few videos, would it be prudent to go over that model's history, even though it's probably being done to death? Yeah, it's an interesting one, Vintage Hillbilly. I've had oftentimes where I've done videos of things that I know that are already videos out there for, and you sort of think, well, why should I make it when there's one already out there? And I guess the answer I say to myself is, well, maybe that person missed something, or maybe I feel that I can do it better, tell the story better, something like that. So, you know, what I would say to you is you just decide what you want to do to make it the video you want it to be. If you think the history will make for a better video, then put that in. People who are genuinely interested in that stuff, they don't care seeing the history again. I certainly don't. When I watch videos about things I'm interested in, I don't care if I end up getting a second history lesson. I'm fine with that, you know. PC Junior. Yeah, do the PC Junior. They are awesome. Love the PC Junior. I mean, I'm not a PC collector, but I would love a PC Junior and as many sidecars as I can find. There's a rush to repairing stuff and having it work again. It's even worse when you repair the stuff that other tech turned away. It's addictive. Yes. It's pi o'clock. Time for bed. Okay, no worries. see you later. So does that mean it's 3:47? Okay, fair enough. No, 3.17? 3.17. 317? Yeah. Oh, 314. Jesus, I can't even remember pi. How good is that? You don't need to, because it's already, it's like when you're coding and stuff and using pi, it's already in there. I don't have to remember it. 3.14. Yes, thank you. 3:14. So that was 4 minutes ago. No worries. So good night, Kai. Videos IBM 51, 50, 51, 70 are fun. See work on a modern board on a stream. I have done it, and I probably will be doing it again soon, because someone's actually sent me it's not that modern. It's a 2010 model, but it's certainly more modern than the one on the desk here at the moment. It's a 2010 17-inch MacBook Pro, no backlight. I've already pretty much diagnosed the problem. It had all this scunge inside the connector, and it's caused a short, and so that's blown the backlight fuse, and hopefully just replacing that fuse will fix it. But it's also the keyboard's not working either, and we've got to find out, is that the keyboard or is it something else? So there's that one I may end up having a look at. What do we got here? Sorry, I'm so behind on the chat here. Can you say... No, I can't. I mean, I can say it, but it won't turn out what I want it to be. 3.141592, etc. At work and sneaking on. Oh, we won't tell anyone, Michael. Yeah, so anyhow, during the Mac show yesterday, I said fake Flux, and I might have ended up saying a swear word by accident. So anyhow, it happens. Knew it was going wrong when I started off saying flake. Oh, got a nice big fat bridge there. This is why we look at these things sideways. Soldering line's gone cold. Warm up. There we go. Bridge gone. Let's try the other side. No bridges. No bridges. Last one. Excuse me. We're good. Okay. So that chip is on there with no bridges. And what else have we got? We've got another chip here to do. We might have a look at some of these trace repairs first though. So we have a few nasty looking ones over here. So this one here, you can see absolutely no copper left there at all. That is all just yuck. It's just yuck. You can see a nice little groove there. Get into the groove. Nice one there. And this one's a scary one, because this one here, and there's another nasty one there. These two here go under the RAM slot. Now, I don't know if any of you guys have ever taken a RAM slot off before. It's not fun. Look at all these trace repairs. That doesn't look too crash hot either, does it? I reckon we've got a break there. Let's just check. So, when we're wanting to check for continuity, one of the things that we need to have, very important, is a multimeter. And you know what? Sometimes you can go out and you can spend an absolute fortune on a multimeter. You can go and spend hundreds, but not all of us have that luxury. Some of us, what we want to do is we want to go out and get ourselves a budget multimeter. But if we're only spending a little bit of money, we want to make sure we get the best bang for our buck. So we're looking for lots of features at a low price. Now, what I can recommend under these circumstances is going with one of these, Kaiweets KM601 multimeter. And you know what? Have a look at all the functions. Look at this, absolutely fantastic. And look at that beautiful big color screen. What a wonderful, wonderful thing. And you think this is going to cost me a fortune, but no, this is a budget multimeter. Runs on AAA batteries rather than the old 9 volters. And let's face it, look at that screen. Isn't it beautiful? So anyhow, if you're interested in getting a Kaiweets KM601 multimeter, you could do a lot worse than click on the links in the description and go and buy one. Right. Shill much? Shill much? Let's go and start repairing some traces. So, here is the question. Where does this trace go? I'll see if I can find any vias on the other side that might give me some indication. Nope, no clues there whatsoever. I guess what I could do is I could attach a wire. It's a real-time clock, so yeah. I don't know. I'd really rather not take off the RAM slot. Put it this way. We'll do the repairs we can see, and if it's still not working, then that can be something that we do later on. Oh, I better clean up all these. I've got all this hair, this wire hair sticking out the back. Dana. Dana is here. Hello, Dana. How are things in Bathurst? Not a RAM slot. Yeah, poor old Jay. He had to get a RAM slot off a G4 computer, and boy, oh boy. I think that took years off your life, didn't it, Jay? It's Bailey's time already. Gosh. Okay, so the Kaiweets does measure capacitance, but it does not do ESR or inductance. So, there you go. But it does do temperature. What else does it do? It does frequency, does voltage drop for diodes, yeah, and all the normal stuff that you would expect it to do as well. Am I going to need a new blade? I feel like I only just changed this one. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to attach these wires to the bottom of the via from the other side. Will it be enough? We'll find out in due course. Okay, so now I'm going to make the changeover. Up until this point, I have been soldering using the Amtech NC559 ASMTF. And this is the flux that I'm used to using. And as I mentioned before, it has been like, it feels like home. I've just been, it's just been like normal. What we're going to do now is we're going to switch over to the new sample 88, which is also going to be known as the V3. And we're going to start soldering with that now. And we're just going to see how it feels. Whether it feels noticeably different. Okay, there we go. Oh, okay, well, I can tell you straight off the bat, it is a stronger smell than the ASM. It is a pleasant smell. It is very, very sweet. Very sweet. So if you don't like sweet smells, this may not be for you. I mean, seriously, the smell is giving me diabetes. Whole town sounds like race cars. Yes, so there is a racing track at Bathurst, in case people in the US aren't aware of it. And we have a few famous races go on there, including the endurance race. I think that's the Bathurst 1000, isn't it? I think it's 1,000 kilometers. I think that's the one. I'm terrible. I'm not particularly knowledgeable on car racing, I'm afraid. But see, it's Waffle. Hello. Wine time here. Yeah, not here yet. I tell you what. Oh, that reminds me. I need to order some. I'll do that once I finish this live stream. What time is it? 12. I've still got plenty of time. 12:30. Plenty of time. Plenty of time. I'd sell my soul for a 2FX logic board. Yeah, we're all kind of in that boat. I mean, I have one, but it doesn't work. And I would like it to work one day, and it is my intention to make it work one day, but it doesn't at this stage. This is a customer's board, and I'm sure hoping we'll be able to get this one working. Wow, look at that one. There's just no copper whatsoever. Oh, and that one I've actually got. Look what I've done there. Oh dear. I'm not pulling the wire through again. Can you see it? Yeah, you can. Maybe just that. So one of these, we're going to need to revert to the schematic to find out where that wire was meant to go. Just turned off the multimeter. Damn, man, these are bad. There is definitely going to be some snaking going on here. See, when I poke this wire through, this one here, not that one, this one here, it's folded over this bit of copper. And the fear is that it's been torn away from the copper tube inside the actual via. So these are the ones I was drilling out in the last live stream. I made my own little custom drill using a needle, a sewing needle. And it was very effective. It worked really well. I just could not get through these holes any other way. So we're just going to smother these in solder and hope we get some continuity going. Nothing to solder on that one. Nothing to solder to. So this wire that I'm using is enamelled wire, so that basically means it has a little coating on it, a little coating of enamel, which means that it is insulated. So in order for me to make the solder stick to it, I actually have to melt through that enamel. Okay, so apart from the fairly sickly sweet smell of this V2, at this stage it feels pretty good. Alright, now I'm leaving this wire hanging out because we are almost definitely going to need to run that somewhere else. We'll come back to that later. One more wire missed the donut pad. Yeah, well, actually, I think about about 4 of them missed. But the wire is soldered to the copper, and we just have to hope. Down here, it's a little bit of a mishmash, but they're not touching, so we're okay. Alrighty then. Bondi. Shall we get a high res one for you, Jay? Are you ready to record? Okay, you going to record this? And let me think. Okay, you recording, Jay? You ready? Yeah, got to try not to laugh. It's pronounced Bondi. There we go. You can store that up. You had a little low res one of me doing that, and I would rather have a high res one. So now we of course know that that is all nonsense, but we'll let Jay have his little moment. It is pronounced Bondi after the beach. Okay, now we're going to do some cleaning with the old V3, see how we go there. Do. The taste test. I'm not tasting this stuff. These things have pretty nasty chemicals in them. And do, of course, keep in mind that when you smell things, well, when you taste things, it's the food running past your olfactories. So to some extent, when you smell something, you are tasting it anyway. But I imagine that there would probably be a very, very bitter taste going with this if you were to actually put it in your mouth. Okay, well, we're cleaning away quite well here, and we've still got flux there, still sitting around, because we can still see it burning away. I'm not sure how I would go long term with that smell. The ASM, they refer to it as odorless. Now, I don't think there are any fluxes that are odorless, and they're perhaps odorless when you're not applying heat to them. But, yeah, sorry, this flux, it's not flux, this is wick. This wick has become unraveled, and I want to re-ravel. Ravelly wavelly. Right. Now, when was the last time I asked people to?
Smash that like button.
Probably long enough to do it again. Scope view. Do appreciate the likes. It's the way that, you know, it's one of the ways that YouTube does its little measuring of engagement and that sort of thing. So the likes are nice to have, just to let the YouTubes know that people are watching and engaging. We've definitely got some brakes here that are going to need repair. But we will hit that with a scalpel in a moment and just see how bad the problem is, how far it goes, etc., etc. Now you can see that we're starting to get a little bit of a browning on that flux now after we've been attacking it for quite some time. That is normal. Every flux I've ever used has done that to varying degrees. What we saw there I consider to be a pretty acceptable. Oh, look at that. Jay has already grabbed that video and put it up on our group message. He's very efficient, Jay. Very, very efficient. We'll be seeing that on next week's Mac Yak, or the week after next Mac Yak. So here, as I mentioned before, we have a weak point between where the trace turns into the pad, and here that you can see that weak point has been completely and totally exploited. That's gone all the way through at that weak point, and we are going to have to do trace repairs. I am actually going to wait until the component is on to do these ones coming from outside in, because then I can actually attach that trace repair to the big glob of solder of the pin. If I do them now, they'll actually just get in the way. It'd be a different story if they were coming from the inside, like these ones. I would do these in a different way. But for the ones that are poking on the outside, where I can access them after the chip is on, I'll actually do the repair afterwards, after the chip is on. Okay. So at this stage, we'll see after I put this chip on, but at this stage, when I'm talking about the fluxes of the ASM and the V3, the only criticism I would give to the V3 thus far is that I feel that sweet smell is a little bit overpowering. But, you know, that's got to be a relatively minor thing in the grand scheme. I think I smashed the like button a bit too hard. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, there's a... I'm just going to look at this message. Sorry, just looking at the video that Jay sent in our little group chat of me saying it's pronounced Bondi. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Small things, small things. So, looking good. Just want to get a little bit of... There we go. Just check and make sure that's got some continuity there. Switch on the beepity beep 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 machine. Put it into beepity beep mode. One of the things that I do like about this one is that it has a little visible, it has a little light. Comes on. We're good. It has a little light comes on as well as the beep for continuity, so for people who might be hard of hearing. Right. What a mess this guy is too. I was just thinking to myself, you know what? I'm going to get this set up today so easily. This will all be done. I'll be testing it, you know, within a couple of hours, and I don't feel that way anymore. I really want to test this today, but I don't know if I will. We'll see. I'm going to have to drill some more holes. Is it fixed yet? No, it is not. No. No. Oh, stupid. So if anyone goes out and buys themselves a Dremel, what I would recommend is one of the most important things to make sure you have is this little extendery bit, because you can hold it with a lot more precision. And I would also recommend getting these little things that allow you to put teeny weeny little drill bits in them. And what I'm actually doing at the moment, I'm putting in a needle, as I mentioned before. This is not actually a drill bit, this is a needle that has been honed to a very fine point, which will hopefully allow me to drill into one of these holes. Now I need to get the microscope and put it at an angle, because I've got to be able to put this thing straight up and down. Which one was it? Was it this one? Yeah. Now this is a bit bent, so this could just break first use. Whee! Got it. Hey, got it. Dremel zoom. Did I need to do that one as well? I do need to do that one as well. I mean, I probably should do a whole stack while I'm here. I think that's it for the moment. We'll come back. We may find more. My 0.2 and 0.3 millimeter drill bits came. We'll see how long 10 of each last. I'm going to do the same. I'm going to buy maybe 50.2 millimeters and just see how they go. I have to admit, the little needle trick is working an absolute treat. It feels great, yeah. On the bright side with this board, this is a board that I went to the customer and said is likely to cost them a bit of money because of the amount of work that's in it. And they were fine with that. And so, to some extent, that from my perspective, not necessarily from his perspective, but from my perspective, that's a good thing, because I don't feel like I'm wasting my time. Damn, look at all those damage traces. Look at them all. Look at them. Look. Look. On the other one that I was working on recently, there was lots of damage in this region. Let's have a look at Y4 on this one. Y4 art thou? Yep, Y4's on this one. So, oh, it's in terrible shape though, but we'll still steal it anyway. I need to find out what the frequency is of that crystal. It's not the real-time clock one, so it's not going to be one of the standards, I don't think. Has anyone got the 2FX schematics in front of them that wants to do a little bit of research while we're at it? Find out what the frequency is of Y4? Because I would like to actually buy a new one and put it on this. And I can use the old one as a test, but I really feel like I should do a new one. Yes, sir. All right, time for a new component. Old component. Replacement component? Component. That's the key word. Let's whip this guy off. Sorry, I'm not focusing. I can't be bothered. I'm just whipping a component off. I don't need to focus for that. I'll just describe it to you. I am applying some hot air to the component, and the solder is starting to melt. Eventually, all the solder will have melted that will allow me to lift the whole component off. Won't that be nice? I'm having banh mi for dinner tonight. Yeah, I am looking forward to that. It's my own variation of banh mi. It's not, and I realise that banh mi is more of a kind of a lunchtime meal than a dinner meal. But okay, I'll have scrambled eggs for dinner if I feel like it. I don't care. I do what I want. So yeah, but I love a bit of banh mi. It's just such a wonderful combination of flavours all just coming together in a single bite. Yum! Is it working yet? Hello, Dana. Where have you been? Huh? You're not going to use like the Grudy excuse of been sleeping or something, are you? I hope you are doing something interesting and worthwhile. Yes, so Sad Mac, you have done that correctly. There are a couple of little letters on it. Banh mi. It's basically Vietnamese rolls, or what Americans would call like a sub. So it's a long bread roll, crusty French bread. The Vietnamese, massive French influence. So the Vietnamese are really big on their baking, and Vietnamese make beautiful bread rolls. And we have lots and lots of Vietnamese people in this country, and we have lots and lots of Vietnamese bread shops, and they make beautiful bread. And so basically it's a big bread roll. So in Australia, what we just call a roll, but I know that a lot of Americans call something like that a sub. And you basically open it up and you put in some pate, you put in some pork. We're going to be doing chicken because I just prefer it with chicken. And you put in some pickled vegetables, pickled carrot, pickled daikon. I put a little bit of soy sauce in, put some chilies, some spring onions, some sweet chili sauce, some mayonnaise, and it is just heaven. It is so tasty. Anyhow, so that's what I'm having for dinner tonight, and I'm really looking forward to it. Oh, and of course, yes, cilantro should be on there, but I am one of the people, one of a fairly large population of people who actually don't like the taste of cilantro. What we actually call out here coriander. Cilantro is basically the leaves from a coriander plant, and obviously you have coriander seeds as well, but we basically just refer to cilantro as coriander here. But yes, it is meant to have cilantro on it, or coriander as we would say, but I don't particularly like coriander, and so I don't have it with coriander on it. Banh mi, Hold the coriander, please. Need a bit more solder here. Yeah, Vietnamese subs, that is correct. Yes, those are awesome, and I would agree with you wholeheartedly. Fried egg, sausage, hash browns, and toast for dinner before. Yeah, why not? Traditionally uses baguettes, that's right. So the rolls that I'm using, they're actually like a half baguette, so they're not a full-length baguette, they're like a half baguette. And what they generally refer to them out here as, if I was talking to someone, like if I was talking to a family member or something, I would call them a Vietnamese roll. Within the bread shop, they call them a long roll. Now that's the term they're using for for us Aussies and stuff like that. But we tend to call them amongst ourselves Vietnamese rolls, and in the shop they call them long rolls. We don't use the term sub here, even though we do have Subway fast food here. We don't call sort of something in a long bread roll like that. We don't call that a sub. We would typically call that a roll. So someone, you go here and you'll say, I'll have a ham and salad roll, please, if you go into a shop to get that done. We call them lumpias. Yeah, cilantro tastes like soap for me too. Hey, now that's called a hoagie, not a sub. Okay, there you go. Y4 is on the last page of the 2FX schematic, and it's 16.9344. Thank you. It also says 197-39 above it. Okay, excellent. Much appreciated. Thank you very much for looking that up. Okay, so I have to go and get a 16.9344 megahertz crystal. Won't that be nice? Now we have to do the trace repair part of this. The fun bit, the bit that everyone enjoys. There's no evidence of that whatsoever, but I just said it anyway. So, how many of these are kaput? Let's check that. Let's not go and repair something that doesn't need repairing. Give that a little bit of a clean up with a toothbrush. I mentioned this many times in my live streams, but it is not the toothbrush I use for cleaning my teeth. Okay. Ba-bow. Ba-bow. I mean, I can pretty much see all these ones. Ba-bow. Okay, what about this one? Oh, that one's good. It's good. It's good. It's good. Good. It's good. Okay, so I don't particularly like the look of this one, even though it's got continuity. So I'm gonna do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now with these ones, I'm actually going to do 7 because I'm going to do that big one, wide one down the side as well. I want a wire to go through to the other side on this one. Okay, let's put this one down first. We'll work our way from left to right because that's how I work. It's Bondi. I had tacos for dinner last night. So continuing here with the V3 Flux, and so far I would say from a performance perspective it is doing just as well as the ASM. It is just a much stronger smell, even though it is a sweet smell. It's very noticeable, but it's not giving me a headache or anything like that. It's not so unpleasant. The other day I was working with about 4 different fluxes, and by the time I left the workshop, I mean, my nose, I was like, I just had, sort of flux stink overload. Whereas today, using just these 2 here, I don't feel that way at all. Right, now then, going to get this, going to try and position it straight out like that, and solder it on here. There we go, look at that. Nicely done, even if I do say so myself. Need a little bit of self-congratulation from time to time. piffle. And then, there we go. My lack of humility ended up with me messing it up. There we go, that'll do. It doesn't have to be a work of art. To manage you back to the other 2FX. Yeah, well, as I was saying at the beginning, by the way, hello, Steve. I hear that you've been streaming with some other folks. I did not know that was happening. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have scheduled my stream for when I did. But I had already locked it in when I got the notification that Ron was streaming. Yeah, I had to make the decision that at the end of the day, a customer's board that has been with me for like over a year now really should take precedence over a 2FX that I bought myself. So I thought, you know what? I mean, I fiddled around with the other 2FX for a long time and I didn't get it working. Doesn't mean I won't get it working, but I haven't got it working yet. But I thought to myself, it's a bit rude of me to continue working on it when I've had this one here for so long, and I may well have an opportunity of getting this one working. So that was the justification for me changing tact and working on this one. This is the one I was working on my Thursday, which I guess would have been your Wednesday. To be honest, I don't even know what friggin' day it is now. It's Saturday here, I think. I wasn't streaming. Oh, isn't that interesting? So, anyhow, I saw a stream from Ron that said it was it had Steve, and maybe it was a different Steve. When I saw Steve, I assumed you, Steve, but perhaps not. Need a little bit more flux here. I forgot to change the title from last time. I was using my name for publicity. That's probably the most likely thing. We know that Ron guy is a bit of a shady character. He will stop at nothing, you know. So I think that's probably the most likely thing. And what was the movie? What movie did you see, Steve? I'm curious to know, unless you don't want to tell me. But I'm assuming it's not something that's private or personal. I'm imagining that it's something. And I'd be curious to know, when Steve watches a movie, does he go for the new stuff? Or does he go for the nostalgia and watch something he's seen before? Oh, family over for dinner, not a movie. Okay, that's all right. Fair enough. 50 Shades of Beige. We've actually got a user that has that as a name, don't we? Somewhere. It pops onto our chats every now and again. It moved. Dastardly thing. Don't like you anymore, Mr. Trace. I'm going to cut him off and start again. I watched a movie the other day, a horror film, because I like horror films. It wasn't quite what I wanted, what I was expecting, I should say. It's a film called X. I don't know if anyone else has seen it or even heard of it. And I watched that. Watched that the other night, and it was good. It was some pretty finely crafted horror, but not quite what I was after. I think they just missed the mark a little bit for me. I could see what they were trying to do, but for me it just kind of missed the mark a bit. Shot in New Zealand. There were quite a few films during the COVID period that were shot either in Australia or New Zealand, because in the initial stages of COVID we were far less affected than other countries, and so we were up and running, and a lot of our studios were functioning at a time when studios in other parts of the world were shut down. So there were quite a few things filmed here for a while there, including one that I watched recently with Toni Collette in it. Wasn't bad, but not as good as some other things I've seen. Like the latest Bond. Yeah, I haven't seen it. The thing is, I really want to watch it, but it's a film that I sort of want to watch with the missus as well, and she wants to watch it, but she needs to be in the mood for Bond. I say, do we want to watch the latest Bond tonight? Nah, not really in the mood for that. So I'm waiting, and if I have to wait too long, I'll just watch it by myself. But I would like to be able to watch it with my wife as well. We have this thing all the time where we go to sit down and watch it. What are we going to watch tonight? How about this? No, I don't really want to watch that. How about this? No, I don't really want to watch that. And so then she'll make her suggestion. She'll say, how about that? I go, oh, no, I don't really want to watch that. There are plenty of things that we watch that we both do enjoy, but there are other times where it's like we are just never going to find something that we both want to watch. And one of us will end up having to compromise. Last night it was my wife who compromised. But that was okay. I was fine with that because I'd been the one that compromised the last couple. Is someone putting spoilers in here? Ron made a Quadra 840 AV joke at my expense via their game stream. I'm now sad. And you weren't even there to defend yourself. I am not going to read Michael's messages there because I consider that they are probably spoilers about the Bond film, and I don't want spoilers about the Bond film. I like to draw my own conclusions. Right. Well, I've said it before. I mean, this is no oil painting, but I do believe we've restored continuity on all these traces, so that's good. So now we've got to go and repair a few of these little fellas. Hey there, little fella. One of the things I will sometimes do, and I'm planning to do it at the moment, if I can't get the solder out of this hole here, this one here, I will... Oh, I did. I was going to say I'll melt the solder and try and poke the thing through while it's melted, but I didn't need to do that. The V3 appears to turn runny much faster than ASM, but it does appear to take longer to burn off. So it looks superior to ASM in that regard. Would you agree, or is the cam playing tricks? You're probably right. I felt that when I was using it yesterday, I felt like it was going runny a lot quicker. So, so it wasn't as jelly, you know, sort of around the joints, and it was going a little bit more liquid. I guess the flip side to that is that probably makes it a bit easier to clean off. 840 AVs, I hate working on them. I hate working on them. They design them with really, really thin traces. It's the same as like Mac portables. They design those with really, really small caps on the vias. So it's really easy to for those to get corroded through, and then you have connections not working. Just talk to Tech Night about it. I'm sure people here, people in the vintage computer repair stuff know who Tech Night is. Just be aware he has a pretty solid presence on Tinker Different on the forum as well as the Discord. So, you know, if you're someone who, you know, sort of wants the help of some of these really clever people out there, Tinker Different is a great place to go, where you can go in and ask questions for these people and they can share their expertise. Tech Knight is, I mean, he's the Mac portable man, but at the end of the day, his knowledge of vintage computer repairs is excellent. I feel like an absolute fraud when I talk to him. Okay. This board is terrible condition. Yes. Yes, it is. Good old IIfx with 2 batteries. Twice the fun. When I'm doing these trace repairs, they get a lot easier once you have part of the wire down. See, like that? It's not particularly pretty, but it is tacked on. And once you've done that, you can then kind of, you know, straighten it out, try and be a little bit more neat and tidy, and then I can solder down the other side like this. Not too hot, because if you go too hot or not too long, you'll heat the other side and it'll come off. So we try and get one good side down, and then I can kind of work my way back along. And just get it all looking nice, a little bit at a time. You know, I talk about this all the time. I use a fairly high heat on my iron, but I try and be really, really quick. Now, of course, I say this like this thing is all going to come out beautifully, but as you have seen many times, even just in this stream, there are a lot of times where I get the trace looking almost perfect, and then I go and try and just do a last little tidy up, and then I stuff it up. So I definitely feel at this stage when I'm doing this, I'm feeling like this flux is disappearing a little bit quicker. Once again, we're talking about a double-edged sword when it comes to this stuff. The longer it hangs around, the harder it is to clean away. But I'm feeling, just with this trace work that I'm doing here, that this solder might be disappearing from the board just a little bit quicker than the ASM. Down. There we go. Down. Okay. This triggers people. When I get the scalpel out and I cut down on the end of the traces like that, Some people just get so triggered. Triggered enough to actually leave comments in the description.
Doesn't the scalpel cut the trays?
Triggered! I don't know that their voice is actually like that. They're just written comments. Work on that 2010 MacBook Pro. We'll see how we go. I mean, there is that whole issue that I have at the moment that it's lunchtime. And I get hungry. Need some flux here. So even though I've got that flux hanging around, it's burned away at the point that I need it there. Geez, my tip could do with some cleaning. Don't read anything into that. Talking about my soldering iron. Come on. I'm going to call it, and I'm going to say for this sort of trace repair work that I'm doing at the moment, I reckon I probably prefer the ASM. Up until this point, I would not have said there was any difference, but I feel for this particular task, I felt like the V3 was possibly disappearing a little quicker than I would have liked. Who's eating Bruce? I'll keep them busy while you eat. Yeah, I tend not to do what Steve does from time to time, where he actually puts the stream on hold while he goes and has a bite to eat. I tend to just finish the stream. It often has a lot to do with the fact that when I am doing a stream, by the time I finish, I got a great big list of things that need doing. Now, I thought I cleared this hole, but I maybe did not clear this hole, or I didn't clear it all the way through. Just want to see that I can get this wire through to the other side. Nope, not happening. So let's give a little poke. Poke, 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 poke. Sorry, that's a Sesame Street joke. We're back on to Dremel cam. So we'll just go a little bit further down. Should be enough. This is now my new favorite tool. Maybe I should do a video on it. Okay, what do we got here? I'm off to scrounge up some dinner. Cool. After this is done, next work on... Yeah, okay, I did that. If it cut the trace, he wouldn't do it. True. I'm triggered. Can't someone order Uber Eats from Hungry Jack's and have them delivered to Bruce's shed so he can keep working? Yeah. I mean, look, strictly speaking, I could actually just say to my wife, hey, can you make me a sandwich? And then I could just stuff my face with it while I'm on live stream. Sandwich. Are you going through? Are you going through, or am I? Yeah, he's going through. Oh, speak of the devil, I think I may be about to get a visit. Okay, so I'm just going to try an experiment here. I'm going to put this down. I'm going to get a great big glob of ASM. I'm going to put that in its place. And I'm going to see if these joints end up looking a little bit better. So I'm having banh mi for dinner, not for lunch. I need to pickle the carrots though, for the banh mi. Yeah, look, that's a big difference. That is a big difference, the way that, if you look at the way that solder is forming on this here with the ASM as opposed to the V3. So for this sort of work, I'm going to call it and say that I definitely prefer the ASM. Now there's some very important things that we need to consider. It's all very well to say I like the ASM more than another or whatever. For some people, they will not even have an option to use ASM because of the REACH chemical compliances in the EU. And there is also the other thing we need to consider, and that is that the V3 is better for our health. So, you know, if these are things that are important to you, they may be the sorts of things that you then keep in mind for which flux you end up using. But it was quite a noticeable difference to the way that solder behaved on that wire when I was using the ASM versus the V3. When I do a proper review, which is one of the things I am going to be doing, I can't do it yet because I need a few more fluxes to review with. But when I do a proper review, it won't just be doing what I'm doing here, where it's just watching me use it. I'll have a whole criteria of things that I'll be testing for. You know, one of them, of course, is going to be how easy it is to clean away. And we've already established that can be a very important thing for some people. Not lazy folks like me that just use an ultrasonic cleaner. We're going to have a bit of work to do with this as well to get these new battery holders on, because there's lots of damage around where the battery holder is supposed to go. Oops, lost a little bit of rubber from my glove. Probably time for new ones. RF Merrill. Yeah, enamel off and tin the trace before putting the wire down. Yeah, one of the reasons that I do actually use this enameled wire is that enamel just comes off quite easily with the heat. It comes with a board like this where I'm doing, you know, 30, 40, maybe more trace repairs. It comes down to speed, and so the method that I use, the process that I use is one that is just enables me to get all these trace repairs down nice and quickly. I mean, we're getting there. We're down to the last few noticeable ones. Doesn't mean there aren't plenty more to go. But we've got this guy here, and we've got this guy here, and then we've got these. So there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and of course this one here is kind of comprised of a few. I try and remove all of the UV mask And it's not a bad idea to get some solder onto the trace before you start attaching a wire to it. And I do that when I remember to do it. So for here, for doing this trace repair, I will get a little bit of solder on here. Steve, have you checked your email? That's how you trigger Steve. Steve loves being asked if he's checked his email. JJ Brubaker, how are you, mate? So we've got some very visible, very noticeable trace breaks here, but we've also got some areas where I suspect we may end up having some trace breaks underneath this RAM slot. But I am not in any hurry to remove this RAM slot. Let's see if it works first. So this is going to be a fun one. Just thinking about the best way to do it. I'll probably do it as one single trace repair from here across to there. And then I will run a separate wire down this one. I think that will be the best way to do it. Now I'm going to do something here that I don't normally do, but because this is in such a state, I'm actually going to get a little bit of wire and I'm going to put tissues. I'm going to put a UV mask here, a bit of UV mask to hold it in position. So in order to do that, I've got to try and get this board as clean as possible, otherwise the UV mask will not stick to it. It will just come off in the ultrasonic cleaner. Okay, that's clean enough for a bit of mask. So let's get a great big piece of wire. You watch, this could work really well or it could be terrible. But you know what? I'm going to give it a try, either way. Let's get some mask. Beep, beep, beep. Where's my paintbrush? Where's my paintbrush? Who took it? Here it is. I'm doing a great job of painting here. You can see why I never became an artist. Right, so what I want to try and do, hold this in place with tweezers like that. Geez, it would have been good if I got all the laser ready and prepped beforehand, wouldn't it? So I've got UV solder mask here. I am now drying it with a laser. Pew, pew, pew. Pew. And that will just serve as an anchor for that part. So this will be the anchor for this little diagonal bit. And then this will be the anchor for that side. And then, of course, the whole thing will get covered in mask later on. But so let's see if I can do this now without destroying that mask. I might put another layer on it, because you can't put this stuff on very thick, because then otherwise the UV doesn't penetrate it very well. But you can put it on in layers to thicken it up. Are you at liberty to discuss Flux from other manufacturers? I just got some of the ASM and am trying for the first time after using MG8341 for years. Yeah, I'm totally at liberty to discuss other fluxes. I am not paid by anyone to advertise their fluxes. I personally like to use the ASM, but there are other fluxes which I am quite happy to use as well. I have recently discovered another flux that I really like, made by made by Chip Quick. I've tried a Chip Quick flux before and it was awful. I noticed this one recently. I'd never seen it before. It's called SMD 4300 TF10. And I have to say I really like this one. We'll actually do a little bit of trace repair with it now. So I'm going to just get some there. I've got a yucky plunger in this one. I generally change the plungers. I haven't changed the plunger in this one. So this one's still got the original yucky plunger in it. So just bend that down, and then I'm going to just solder that onto there. So, oh wow, look at the clumps there. Let's get rid of that. Watch your flux videos. It's like changing the recipe of your favorite sauce without telling you. Is there an alternative product you would recommend? Yeah. So that was the one that I just recommended. If you wanted to steer clear, one of the things you need to keep in mind, well, certainly from my perspective here in Australia, it's actually quite cost effective for me to get Amtech flux. There we go. This doesn't need to go too far. I'll just take it up to that corner. That really flowed well. And that's using this. What do you call it? Chip Quick one. So that was nice. That felt really good. Just the solder just did exactly what I wanted it to do there. So that's one that I would definitely recommend. But I do really like the ASM, and of course the other one that I mentioned in my most recent video, which is the new one that's been brought out by Amtech, which is called the V3, which will be for sale very soon. And that one there, that one of the main things about it is better for you if you're going to be using it. It's not as dangerous. Okay, just feeding this wire through the hole. I'll tighten that up, but not too tight because I don't want to pull it away. There we go. Okay, so there we go. Let's just solder that down there. Okay, I've been recommended the MG8341. Now, I'm not sure if that's the one that I already have. I think it is. And if it's the one that I'm thinking of, it's a good flux. It does work well, but number one, I find the prolonged use with that smell that one has, I find it overpowering. I find that, you know, I head back afterwards. Even with using a fume extractor, you know, you do still smell it. And I find that MG Chemicals one is not a particularly pleasant smell. Smells very, it's that terpene smell. It smells very similar to the original formula Amtech V2. So that's a fairly big thing for me. But in terms of its performance as a flux, it did really well. So that's the MG one. There we go. Not as flowy as the ASM is. Yep, that would be right. Do you think you might test the board today? I think we're looking good for that. I don't think it's going to work because just based on what I'm seeing here, I suspect there's going to be a lot of damage that I have not yet discovered. But I definitely think we will get a chance to try it. And once I've finished these little trace repairs, I've got to flick off these electrolytic caps and replace them with tants. Yeah, it's the only no clean gel flux they make. So then that's definitely the one that I've tried. So just the quick backstory here with the fluxes that I've tried. I have to buy. There is no Australian seller of Amtech, so I have to buy them from Amazon US. And then there's obviously the time it takes for delivery. It's usually a couple of weeks from when I order it to when I get it. Now, if I am silly and don't replace the flux when I run out in a timely fashion, I could potentially run out and I have no flux. I need to buy something else. So what I did is I went on a bit of a fact-finding mission with a local electronics place. They're actually just in the next suburb along from here, so they're very convenient. It's a company called Mectronics, and they sell a whole bunch of fluxes. So what I did is I went and ordered pretty much every flux they sell, every tacky flux they sell in a syringe. And there was one which was just, I think it was called Chem Tools. It was some sort of cheapy one. There was the MG Chemicals one. There was the Chip Quick one. And then there was another one made by Interflux. Now, of those, the MG and the Interflux were very, very similar. And I consider them to be also be very, very similar to the original formula Amtech V2. So they all shared that similar smell, that terpene smell. And I suspect that's possibly the, was it hydrobromic acid? I suspect, because I think that's something that's quite common to those sorts of fluxes. And they all performed quite well, but I did find the stink, not ideal. So for those ones, they were a good option should I happen to run out of flux. They were something that I could still get the job done. They still perform well, even if I'm not particularly happy with the smell. So that was what the conclusion I came to with those. Now, what I tend to do these days is I buy 10cc syringes because I find them more manageable than the 33, than the 30, and I tend to buy 3 at a time. And then when I get down to the last one, I do the next order, and that last tube gives me enough time for any delays in delivery that might occur. But that's the reason why I tried quite a few different fluxes. And I did also try another one from Amtech, which I think is the 213, but I'm not sure, because it got given to me. Oh wow, that looks like that isn't maybe. I just got to test continuity here. I got given one to test a sample in 2020, and I didn't like it very much. And I think it was the Amtech 213A. I think. Yeah, good, that's got continuity, we're all fine. So, what do we got? We've got another trace repair here. Now, I don't even really need to do this one now, because this is the one that goes to the battery, and we're not going to be connecting up a battery. So, let's leave that one for the moment. This one goes to the real-time clock, which could do all sorts of things. So, we'll wire this one up. And we'll come back to that trace repair at another time. Right. Getting late night all. No worries, Retro Techie. Thank you for joining. Sorry if I was a little bit slow to reply to that. Yeah, so it's a lot harder for me to live stream at a time that is welcomed for people in the US now, because they're in daylight savings in the US, but we're out of daylight savings here. So I have to start quite early. So I usually, in our summer, when we're daylight savings and the US isn't, I tend to stream at about midday, and that's 8 p.m. US Eastern Time. But now, if I want to do 8 p.m. Eastern Time, I need to start streaming at 10. And I do it on the weekend, and I like to sleep in on the weekend. So by the time I've fed the chickens, fed the cats, had some breakfast, had a cup of tea, had a shower, got all ready, all that sort of stuff. And of course get a thumbnail ready for the video. I struggle a little bit with the 10 o'clock thing. So my live streaming is a little bit later than usual at the moment. But that's life. Oh, we are getting close. We are getting close. I believe we're getting close. Have we got any? Oh, well, we've still got 32 people watching, so that's something. I was worried I might have started talking to myself here. Yep. Let's get that a little bit closer up. There we go. I don't even know what flux I'm using at the moment. I think I'm using the Chip Quick. And this one is pretty much odorless. So this one is definitely a very good performing flux. I would recommend this one without hesitation. And this one is apparently water soluble, so easier to clean off. Now, having said that, I've never cleaned it off, so I have no idea if that's an outrageous claim or not. This will be the first time I've cleaned a lot of these fluxes. Okay. What are we thinking about that one? We better get a little repair on there. That one looks pretty ugly. Later streaming is better for EU. Yeah, so I'll be, you guys, I guess, what, waking up in the morning, I suppose. It'd be quite early. Because I know, like, Kai had to go to bed. He's in the UK. Kai stays up ridiculously late sometimes, which is wonderful. It's helped me out a few times because Kai has all the answers. And what's more, he sits there and researches the schematic while I'm working. So I'll be working away and he'll come back and he'll say, try this on this one, or try that on this one, or, you know, get the meter on that one and see what it says. You know, and it's like, oh, that's really, really handy. I'm just sitting here doing trace repairs and someone's actually doing all the hard work. Because this is actually something that I've mentioned a few times. When I do my live streams, I tend not to do a lot of the serious diagnostic work because I just find that it's something where a lot of the time I'm concentrating, I don't talk very much, I'm looking things up on old schematics on PDFs that don't have any proper search capability, and that all tends to get a little bit dull. And so for that reason, I tend not to live stream the real diagnostic stuff. What I tend to live stream more is just the mechanical stuff, the actual repairing, the recapping, all that sort of stuff, the doing new traces. You know what? I don't even know if the hot air station is going to get this cap off. It's so rusted. Ow! But we'll see. I suspect there's probably not much in the way of meltable solder on this anymore. This is a board, as you can see, that we've got an electrolytic cap here, but it was originally designed so that it could take an electrolytic or a tantalum, because it has two sets of pads. It has that for all of these caps. And on this one, some of them are electrolytic, some of them are tantalum. That there is a little bit of component adhesive. I always like to take those off. They come off really easily when there's a bit of heat there. So, no twisting. There is no twisting on my channel. You will never see twisting of caps. You will see me sometimes repairing torn pads of people who have twisted their caps and have sent them to me for repair. You will sometimes see that, but you will never see me twist a cap. I mean, unless, of course, it's a board that I don't care about. There's that black gunk. Yep. Good old black gunk on a board like this, which you'll see, of course, anytime you've got these really old, leaky electrolytic caps. And there's the way, basically the way I deal with it is I deal with it with heat and flux and solder and a bit of rubbing like this and repetition. And then if that doesn't do it, I should just use these pads, shouldn't I? I'm going to be sticking a tant on here. May as well just use that one. And then if that doesn't fix it, then out comes Mr. Scalpel for the scrapies. Right, let's get that off, and I think we'll have to hit this with a scalpel. I don't see me being able to clean these up completely without it. Ow! Sorry, something hot. Is there a chance that the soldering thing, like the one with CCC Dan tomorrow, could become a series on its own? Well, who knows? It's possible. I have actually contemplated the idea of doing just like soldering classes. So in other words, what I would do is I would do a live stream where I would have a particular soldering project, and it might be the same project that other people can participate in, and we would do it and just go through it, and people could ask me questions while I'm working. I've had that sort of thought of doing something like that. The only thing is that there is someone else I know who has a very similar idea, and if I do it, it's really going to be like I've just stolen his idea, and he knows who he is, and so I don't want, because I have actually quite openly stolen quite a few of his ideas, because he has quite good ideas. Sorry, I've mangled this pad here a bit, haven't I? Come on. Come on, little dog ear. I'm not even going to use this pad, but I still want to leave him intact. There we go. There we go. Happy little pad. Okay, make sure that we've got continuity here. The one with Canadian Computer Collector is one that I sort of, talked to him about a while ago, because he contacted me. Dan contacted me and said, look, I want to get into this soldering. Can you make me a shopping list of what I need to buy? And I said, well, I can certainly do that. Obviously not budget stuff. I wanted to make sure it was stuff that was going to be affordable, that he wasn't going to have to spend a fortune. So I gave him a big list of stuff with all the Amazon links, and he bought them all. He's got them there, so he bought a particular soldering iron, and during the class I might use the same soldering iron, so we're both using the same bit of equipment. And I called it a class. It's not a class, but anyhow, during the live stream I will probably use the same soldering iron that he is, so that we're on a level playing field. And I told him about which flux to buy, which solder to buy. What else? There's a whole list there. I need to go back and have a look at it. But he's just got this idea that he wants to include that as part of what he does on his channel. So yeah. Oh, that's nasty. That sounds very nasty, RF Merrill. I've got the grinding pen. Yeah, it's interesting. Jay from the House of Moth got that grinding pen, and I was pretty impressed with it. I struggle a little bit with buying it when I've kind of got my Dremel here at arm's reach that I can use if I need to. But I don't know, I may end up buying the little grinding tool. It looked really cool. All right, let's pop a cap on here. Pop a cap on. '17th wedding anniversary tomorrow. Well, happy anniversary for tomorrow, Biddy Jill Biddy Shack. It was good. I love hearing when I'm doing these streams and people talking to me about the projects that they are doing at the same time. I do like that. I am going to put some solder on this pad to give it a little bit more rigidity, because even though I'm not going to be using it, I don't want it to break and fall off. So I'll just get some flux on here and I'll put a nice little mound on there. Little mound. I've got back to the point now where I'm just grabbing flux and I have no idea what I'm using. That's what I did the other day. There we go. I'll just make those pads a little bit stronger. All right, now let's get the cap. I need to get that from the SMT Tantalum's 47 microfarad 16 volt. Beep. Something just went beep. I don't know what it was, but something just went beep. Oh, I see what it is. It's the probes of my multimeter touching. It's enough, Yoto, I've told you. Alright, so get the stripe from the tantalum and put that on the plus side, just keeping in mind that the plus, the stripe is on the negative side for the electrolytics, it's on the positive side for these tantalums, so just make sure you don't get that mixed up, like I did on one of my first recaps. This one's going to be a little bit difficult to get to the other side, so I'll do the difficult side, I'll do the easy side first, and then I'll do the difficult side there, and I'm going to do it with a conical, a bent conical. Yeah, why do they do that? I don't know. I just reckon it was some sort of engineer out there that decided to confuse us. Now, Mr. House of Moth, this, Jay Vry, who you will see on quite a lot of the old vintage forums, particularly things like the Mac Pro forums and stuff like that, or groups, Facebook groups. He produces some pretty awesome video content, but he doesn't believe that he does. And so when a lot of the time when I'm saying, hey, Jay, you need to do a video on that, and he'll be like, nah. I'm like, do it, man, come on. So it's all up to us to try and encourage Jay to do a little bit more video content. He owes it to the world. He doesn't really, but, Right, let's get this cap off. This one's nowhere near as cruddy as that last one. This one should clean up a lot easier. Okay, let's go back to ASM. Watch carpet cleaning videos instead. I don't see the appeal, Jay. I find the idea of seeing someone else's dirt come out of their carpet kind of disgusting. I mentioned this the other day in my live stream. I'm just about at the end of my 1 pound roll of Kester solder. I have ordered another roll. It's on its way. I ordered it on Amazon just recently. It's taken me about 2 years to get through. I've still got this stupid tip. This tip's great for getting into fine spaces, but other than that, I hate using it. I watched one and now I'm hooked. It's someone else's gross, disgusting dirt though. Don't you find that just gross? I'm going to sneeze. Okay, excuse me. What iron are you using? Yes, I am guessing you have discovered in the description that I've put all that information in there. It is an FX951 Hacko, which I like for lots of reasons, and I dislike for lots of reasons as well. I love the fact that it uses T12 tips. I think T12 tips are awesome. But I hate the interface. And I also like the fact that it's the same colour as my favourite rugby league team. So that's a silly reason. I think the little key thing on the front is stupid. I think the way it has a digit select to then make it go up and down is stupid. It would work better just with a rotary dial to change the temperature. I like the digital output, but it just needs a rotary dial with a digital output. That's all it needs. My watch is telling me it's time to stand. I'll tell you when it's time to stand. Oh, already got one out. Stuff it. It's the one I've got in my hand, so it's the one I'm going to use. So I put a lot of flux down onto the pad first because that's going to help the solder transfer from the iron to the component. And that's the way I kind of get around the whole three-hand dilemma. So you have one hand holding the iron, one hand holding the component, and one hand holding your little bit of solder. Now, because I don't have three hands, it means I have to transfer the solder onto the iron first. But in doing so, it means you burn away the flux that's inside the solder, and so that flux is no longer going to work. So that means that solder is going to oxidize, and it's not going to flow very well. It's not going to transfer to the component. So I put the flux on the pad here, and that just helps the solder flow beautifully from the iron to the component. Just like that. That's my method. Oh, Oh damn, I'm just going to do this left-handed. I'm terrible left-handed solderer, but I cannot be bothered moving this whole board. There we go. Oh, and I managed to melt a little bit. All right. So now, are there any more of these stupid caps here? And if there aren't, then the only thing that we have left to do is stick this little crystal on here, and then we can give it a try. It almost definitely won't work, but you know, you guys have been so patient. Oh, I probably should find out where this one goes first, shouldn't I? Or if it's important. Or maybe we just try it without that, eh? I better do this one. Scrapey, scrapey. Yeah, so the FX888, I agree. The interface is good on that. The 888 doesn't use the T12 tips, though. I don't think it uses this, like that standard where you have the heater in the kind of handle, and then you just put the tip on the top of it. The T12s I like because the tips themselves are the heater, so you get much better heat transfer. Okay, cool. Well, thank you very much, Vintage Hillbilly Show. As I've said many times before, it's the microscope that makes me look good. Come on. I'm getting really good at just having huge amounts of solder hanging out from my holder. Let's get a big glob on the end of that. On a nice big glob. That'll do. That's a glob. Met cow. Someone I was speaking to, he's got a met cow. They look like a nice iron. Okay. Upload complete. Processing will begin shortly. Well, if I can just say this to you, Jay, I find my videos actually get processed quite quickly, so maybe it's you. Oz Retro Copies here. How are you, mate? Well, interesting thing, RF Merrill. I mean, I have a micro pencil, which it's a completely different iron. It's much smaller. It's designed for the really fine work, and it's got this teeny weeny little bevel tip on it. And this thing outputs so much heat for a small iron. It's quite extraordinary. And it looks like that. Little tiny thing. And you have to put it in the right way around, like I just didn't do. There we go. Oh, all right. So crystal. Let's get some crystal happening. I do need to get a little bit of wire. I'll probably choose something a bit thicker because I want something here that's going to provide a little bit of rigidity. So I'm going to use this. Now, the reason why I'm using this wire is because the crystal that I'm putting on here for the purpose of testing is in a terrible state. It's actually got one of its legs busted. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this as its other leg, and then I'll just solder it to this. And because this is a bit thicker, I will probably pre-tin this and pre-melt off the enamel. So I'm just going to do that on the board here. Why not? And I'll just get a nice big glob of solder on the end of my iron so that it just wraps right around the wire, and it will work better to melt all that stuff off. You can actually feel it when you're running the iron across. it's very slippery when when the enamel's there, and then once the enamel's burnt away, it starts to grab a bit. We'll just flip to the other side, because we probably didn't get all the enamel off from both sides. Over. And I don't know why, but when you burn the enamel off, it smells like hospital. Smells like hospital. Why did I fill up that one? Jeez. Wakey, wakey, Bruce. If you had a PC Junior, what would you do with it? I have no idea. I have no idea what I would do with it. Yeah, I mean, I would probably load up some period-specific software and just play around with it. Same as I do with all my other vintage stuff. Okay, so this is the one. Oopsie. It's sorry, you can't see it very better, but this is the one that I am grabbing. And as you can see, oh look, I did that on the wrong. These aren't polarized though, so these can go on any way around. So I will put this on here. I will put the good leg down there. Like that. Oh no! Two bad legs. Alright, so we're going to put another one in there. We are making two new legs for this crystal. Yes, I am going to replace this crystal, in case anyone is wondering. I will buy a new one. I will replace the old one. But for the purpose of the testing today, we are going to have to go to extraordinary lengths to get this crystal working. I mean, I don't even know if it's important, but crystals on the whole are very, very important because they provide the timing for all the other components on there. So, you know, I am just going to assume that this one is needed and is important. It's not an unpleasant smell when you burn these. It's probably really bad for me, but I find it quite pleasant. Spent a lot of time in hospital when I was a little younger, thanks to a good old motorbike accident. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to get this thing to stick on. I wonder if I can take that crystal from another computer. I wonder if there are any others that use the same clock speed. Yeah. We'll just see if we can get this to go on. See if we can get it to work. So what have we got here? Let's have a look at the top and see just how bad things are. So we've got the tiniest little nub. Oh, ay caramba. This could be futile. I don't know if I'm doing any good at all. Okay, well, let's see what happens. This would be really, really good if I had a replacement. I mean, far out. Is this a waste of time? I'm just going to snip this. Snip it. Where are my snips? I was using them the other day. You've got to be here somewhere. The most commonly used tools are the ones that most commonly go missing. That's just the rule of thumb. Ah, there they are. Come on, come on. There we go. God, the lengths we go to. This just seems so absurd. If I can get that to join, which I think it is joined now, it would basically take a sneeze from a mouse to break that apart. But it might be enough for us to test with. Jake Janoski. Is it Janoski or Janoski? Hello there. Right, okay, so if anyone has just turned up, like Jake, you've turned up at the perfect time, because I am just about to test this out. Now, oh, hang on, there's a whole stack of components missing. These are just for new bus. I might be able to get away without them, so we'll test without them for now, but we've got a few resistors. We've got resistor there. God, that doesn't look too crash hot either. So I think oh, look at that broken trace there. Yeah, so we're going to test it now, just to see if we get a chime. This does not have internal video, so we will not be able to test video because we don't have our new bus slots are going to be cactus, I promise you. But we will get some RAM, just keeping in mind that the old IIfx uses different RAM to the other Macs of the period. The other Macs were using 30-pin SIMs. These use a different number. I can't remember what it is though. I do have the original IIfx ROM, which is around here somewhere. I think it's up. Yep, I can see it. And let's get these. I should change camera view, shouldn't I? Camera view, change, activate. Wonder Twin Powers, activate. Form of. See if there's anyone old enough to remember that. Okay, we're doing it. I'm going to do it that way around. It will probably make more sense to do it that way around. No, it won't. It won't make sense at all. It's going to be that way around, and I need to populate bank A, which is this one here, which you can't see because of my fat head. There is one. I don't even know what size these SIMs are, but they are definitely IIfx SIMs. I don't know if they're mine or someone else's. I think they may have come with the Swamp one that I bought, but I'll have to look it up. I keep records of all this stuff. I get records so that I don't have to remember. There we go. Okay, got some RAM in there. We need a ROM. There's a ROM. I'm pretty sure this is a IIfx ROM. If it's not, I've got the big mess of wires one. We can always try that. But to be honest, I don't think we'll get that far. I don't think we'll get a single noise from this. I've got a little speaker, which I'm going to connect here to the speaker connector so that we can hear if it does anything. Now, these have a soft startup circuit that only works with a battery installed. I am bypassing that altogether. So if that soft startup is damaged or traces are gone or whatever, it's not going to matter because we're skipping it altogether. Now, anyone who has ever watched any of my private live streams, the ones where I just let loose and swear the whole time, I had one of these and this capacitor here blew up when I was testing. So everyone, you know, hang on to your hats. I know of at least probably 2 traces that aren't connected up on this, so we'll just see what happens. Let's get a power supply. Oopsie. Now this power supply doesn't have a switch on it, so once I actually connect power to it, it'll kick in. There we go. I really need to change my gloves. These ones are falling apart. All right, so as I say, once I connect mains power to this, it will just go. And what would be best would be a chime. What would be second best would be a chime followed by a sad Mac chime. What would be third best would be a sad Mac chime. What would be fourth best or last ultimately would be nothing at all. So, yeah. No, probably not what I was going for. I think it's an old, what I was quoting was an old Hanna-Barbera cartoon, I think. Okay. All right. Are we ready? As soon as I plug this in, stuff will happen one way or another. Or not, I should say. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Okay, well, what we did get was we got a click from the speaker. So what that tells me is that the amplifier is working. It's also telling me there is power getting to the board. And I can test that now using my Kaiwitz KM601 multimeter. Yes, yes indeed. If you want one of these, you can have a look in the description and find a link where you can buy one. Budget multimeter, lots of features. Okay, so oops. Whee! I just stuck these in the fan. Be the envy of every other electronics enthusiast out there by having a Kaiwitz KM601 multimeter. So we are going to just test up here. We can just use these here as kind of probe points. These are this is the power supply for a hard drive. Now this is the connector here, but this used to have an old Molex on there, so we can just do that here with a little bit of 12.8 volts and 5 volts. So both the 12 volt and 5 volt rail are running through this. And I would say that if I was to get the infrared on this, we'll find a few components getting warm. So we're going to do that now. It's here. I'm just going to switch it on. Might take these ridiculous gloves off now, because I'm probably not going to solder anymore today. How long have I been going for? 3.5 hours? 3.5 hours? What on earth? I'm going to have to go. I've got to go out and get some chicken food. And it's for chickens. It's not like it's not like I'm like what I feed myself or anything like that. So let's go to Fleur 1. That's the software. Software is free. The hardware is not. I plug him in, and there we go. We are reading, and I can already see there are quite a few things getting warm on this board. So I am going to take a still, just zoom out so I get the whole thing on. Snap, snap. So let's have a look and see what temp we're getting to over here. This is in Celsius, so people will probably freak out. Got up to about 40 degrees C there, and that is down here. Stop it. Is it here? Yep, these ones here. So these little chips here are getting to about 40 something degrees. That one's getting a bit of warmth on it as well. Nothing crazy. We've got warmth on the CPUs as well. We get a weird reaction here. You can see that you probably can't see, but the CPUs look like dark squares. That's because the infrared is reflecting off the little gold coating on the chips. But these chips are actually getting warm. It's just when it's just bouncing off. So, but yeah. So some parts of the board are getting some activity. We've got some up here as well. That's getting some. It's getting some. So yeah. All right. So let's see what happens if I press the reset button. Did I even wire those up? Nothing. But I did definitely get a pop. Oh, I'm going to do it again. Yep. It's just like a clip. So that it just tells me that there is power. The sound circuit is getting power. The sound chips are the little rectangular ones, which are here. 2 sound chips there and there. So we know that that's working. We know the amplifier that's connected to those is working. Otherwise, we wouldn't be getting a click from the speaker. But yeah, we're not getting any activity. And to be honest, if we had, it would have been a freaking miracle. But they do happen from time to time. So anyhow, I do apologise that this live stream hasn't ended with like an exciting result. But you know, this is going to be a multi-stream repair, this one. But what we have done is we've done probably the most difficult stuff here. So what remains is I've got these chips here where the trace rod is so bad that a lot of these aren't going where they're meant to go, I suspect, most probably. One I know is definitely not going where it needs to go, and there are probably more. So I'm going to need to get out the schematic and a multimeter. Going to need to trace these to where they're supposed to go and find out which ones aren't working, and then probably run some spaghetti underneath or over, depending which is easiest, to then try and get these working. If it's just missing a ground, or if it's missing a power rail or something like that, I can just attach it to something nearby. But if it really needs to go somewhere, then I'll have to do that properly. I've got to fix some damaged traces here, and I've got to replace a couple of missing resistors. I've still got a trace or two here that need to be fixed, but they're just related to the battery, so they're not super important. And I really do need to replace this crystal. It's just being held on with a wing and a prayer at the moment. So I'll probably order one of those. And I also noticed a bit of ugliness going on around these chips, quite close to where the damage is here. So I probably just need to clean those up, get a bit of fresh solder on them, make sure it's all looking good. And then, yeah, there is always that possibility that there is some damaged trace going on underneath this RAM slot that may need to come out later on, possibly. My watch is nearly flat. I forgot to charge it last night. So that's where we are at the moment. I hope the kind of lack of finishing this hasn't been too disappointing for anyone watching at the moment. We got to try lots of fluxes. That was something, wasn't it? Under lots of different circumstances. And so just mentioning for those people, as I've said before, I highly recommend the ASM flux, the NC559 ASM TF. It's one that's probably my preferred. But if you are not wanting to buy Amtech, or if you have trouble getting Amtech, this Chip Quick SMD 4300 TF10 is stellar stuff. I would highly recommend that as well. But I will be doing a more thorough video on it later on. So I had a video ready to go, but the royalty-free music I used was not royalty-free, so got to redo the music on the video and re-upload. It's a real bugger. So can I just tell you something very quickly on that? And this is for anyone out there who's doing YouTube videos. The term royalty-free sort of means what it says. You can use royalty-free music, and you don't have to pay for it. If you've paid for it, you only have to pay for it once. But the terms of most royalty-free music are that you cannot profit from using it. So in other words, if you are doing a YouTube video and you are monetized and you are making money from people watching that video, you need to pay money for the use of that music. If you are not monetized and you're just playing that video and you're not earning money from it, the royalty-free music is fine. The terms of those say you can use them if you're not profiting from them. If you are profiting from them, you need to share those profits with the writer of the music. So the answer to that, the solution is that if you are doing YouTube videos, just use the YouTube music that they make available. There are hundreds of tracks there. You can use them and you don't have to worry about those sorts of issues. So yeah, I'm just letting that's a mistake that I made. I bought some royalty-free music, paid good money for it, and then I used one of those in one of my videos, and then the video got demonetized. As in, I'm not allowed to monetize that video. If you want to watch it, it's the one where I said, is this the fastest recapping ever or something? It was just a fun muck around video I did a while ago, and I used some royalty-free music in that. But because I monetized, the moment I became monetized, the alerts went off. Before then, it didn't matter because I wasn't making money from it and it was royalty-free. But the moment I started making money from it, I had to switch off monetization on that video. So that's the joy. Audio library, YouTube audio library is well, it's sketchy. It's generic, so if you're looking for something very specific, then sometimes it's quite difficult. But so far, every time I've been looking for a tune, I've had a particular thing in mind, in my ear of what I wanted, and I've been able to find what I wanted. So it works for me. Yeah, so anyhow. Oh, Nate, are you a composer, really? Interesting. So we might have to start talking to you about, maybe buying some tunes from you. Okay, you were promised results. Yep, and you got them. It didn't work. That was the result you got. Okay, so I'm going to do my normal thing here. I'll try and do a little bit better than I did on Thursday. On Thursday, I had one of the most schmozzly endings to the video. It was so good that Jay captured it and played it on Mac Yak the other night. So that was how good my ending was last time. So anyhow, thank you very much to everyone for watching. How many of you? We're 35 of you still here. So thank you very much. Thanks for keeping me company while I worked on this. I hope it wasn't too boring. Thank you for the super chats. Thanks for the activity in the chat. Sorry if I missed any messages. I do miss them because they go by pretty quick a lot of the time. It's nothing personal. It's just how it goes when I'm doing these things at the same time. So everyone have a lovely evening, morning, afternoon, whatever it happens to be where you are in the world. And I hope to see you at the next live stream. Just a reminder, I will be live streaming with Dan from Canadian Computer Collector tomorrow. It is Saturday, 8 p.m. US Eastern Time. But jump onto Canadian Computer Collector's channel. I'm sure he's probably got the video up there and set the reminder or whatever because, yeah, he's learning to solder. Steve from Mac84 and I are going to try and help him, sort of get up and running. And it's bound to be lots of fun because, because Dan's a fun guy to be around. So I'm actually really looking forward to that. And then I am going to probably try and do another stream the day after. So that will be my Monday, probably sort of US's Sunday. So that's the hope. That's what I'm planning to do. All right, okay. Once again, thank you. Have a good one. Thanks for joining me, and I shall see you all later. So, stuffed up. There we go. See you all later. Bye-bye.